in Haiti. Now, Kenyans applying for their national identity cards for the first time will no longer be required to pay fees following a directive by Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen. Murkomen announced the removal of the 300 shillings fee for first-time applicants in a bid to ease access to the critical identification document.
Wale wanakuja mara ya kwanza kuchukua IDs lazima wafanye bure, kwa sababu hivi sasa watu wanalipishwa pesa shilingi 300, na kwa hiyo directive ya rais, kwa habari ya rais vile alitangazia wa Kenya hivi jana, nimetoa habari kamili ya kuondoa ile IDs ambao watu wanachukua, kwamba itakuwa sasa bure, haiwezi chukuliwa kwa kulipa chochote. Na vile nimefika hapa asubuhi, nimepitia ile registration desk ambao tuko na watu, na wengi wao walikuwa wanafunzi hivi majuzi, ambao ni karibu 200 tayari wako hapa na wako tayari kuchukua IDs. Sisi tuko tayari kuhakikisha kwamba wamepata bure.
The CS also scrapped the 500 shillings vetting fee for both IDs and passports. This follows a directive by President William Ruto, who, while speaking in Kibra last week, ordered that first-time applicants should not be subjected to any fee and would only need to present their birth certificates and their parents' identification documents.
Nimemuuliza kijana moja pale anaitwa Ignatius kwa nini alichelewa kuchukua ID. Akaniambia kwamba angeweza kupata hiyo pesa shilingi 300, ilikuwa ni ngumu, na kwa mwaka 3 iliyopita hakuweza kuchukua ID ingawa alikuwa anataka ID hiyo. Kumaanisha kwamba kuna watu wengi sana wamekuwa wakifungiwa nje kwa mambo ya kutafuta riziki ya maisha na kujisikia kwamba wao ni wa Kenya, kwa sababu ile walikuwa wanalipishwa shilingi 300 ilikuwa nimewafungia nje.
And the Directorate of Criminal Investigations has dismissed reports of a Mexican large-scale methamphetamine production lab located in Namanga near the Kenya-Tanzania border. The DCI clarified that the said lab had not been in operation and was only in its primary stages of being set up when the Mexican, Nigerian and other cartels linked to the syndicate were arrested in September and October last year. While partly confirming the presence of the lab, DCI revealed that the said clandestine lab was in the process of being set up with samples and structures already in place, but the plan never actually materialized since the sleuths managed to nab 6 suspects, including a Mexican and a Nigerian linked to the same. That's the news wire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
The following takes place from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. every weekday on Spice FM.
One of the things that are ailing our country is negative ethnicity. You find you as a state officer, instead of thinking as a Kenyan, you think like a tribal person.
Let me tell you something. The biggest problem we have had in this country is a leadership deficit. There is nothing that you are going to do in the process of change if you are not a risk taker. So you really have to pursue your vision to a logical conclusion and even be ready to step on people's toes.
When it comes to the economy, you can't run away with it. They say statistics are like bikinis. They reveal a lot, but they conceal the vitals. And so government people would throw statistics at you and tell you they're revealing a lot of information to you, but it's really concealing the real vitals.
We need to get out of that, because when we want to grow our democracy, one basic thing that really requires to be understood by the political class, by all of us, is institutions are critical.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
In this country, 6 families and 8,000 Kenyans control 90% of the GDP. We are not a country. We are a plantation. We work for Ruto.
When you're telling the judges court orders are papers or they will not obey court orders, they're sitting and you're seeking orders from them. So how are they supposed to interpret it? Isn't it an oxymoron?
When you see a judiciary that seems to be under some control somewhere, you start questioning. We have very powerful governors, but they don't use their offices to serve the people.
If you are not shameful to do what you are doing, why should we protect you?
I'm human, everybody is human. So when you're told, kuja tuongee, I mean, you'd be a fool to say, staki kuongea today. Conversations have to be had, you know?
People in leadership should only go into leadership if they are ready and willing to change the lot of the people.
The Situation Room, Kenya's biggest conversation.
Good morning. It's Thursday. We're taking a look at what's happening on the roads today. A bit of a slippery situation because the rains are coming down and it looks like it's going to take a minute to get where you're going today because everybody's slowing down. Not much happening coming off of Thika Superhighway. I think we'll be fine for most parts, at least before we get into traffic hour. And also, really everywhere you look, apart from Kangunda Road, of course, a little bit of traffic there as you're getting towards Outer Ring, and it's starting to build as you go towards North Airport Road on the other side. We're going to keep an eye on all of this and keep things moving this Thursday. Help us out, SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
A very good morning to you. It's 9 minutes after 6 o'clock on this 20th day of... I wanted to say September. Then I wanted to say August. But it's March.
It's December.
Eh?
I know.
You know why?
You know 20th of December. Holiday.
Oh, it's a holiday.
Yeah.
Holy day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a Sunday?
Is it a Sunday?
If it's a holiday in the middle of the week, we will be coming to work. So that's the real holiday. Keep up with it.
Keep up with it.
Nabado Tuko.
Sisi ndio tuko. As you can see.
Abbas, tell us how you're doing this morning, Dennis.
I am doing very well, thank you.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I slept at 8:30.
You slept at 8:30?
Yeah.
Wow. When I grow up, I want to be like you.
Yeah.
And you woke up this morning?
Yeah.
Well done.
Yeah.
CT, what time did you sleep last night?
10.
10. What time did you wake up this morning?
2.
Okay. So, but see, tuko hapa? Tuko salama? Okay. Very, very good. I'm well, thanks. And, you know...
How are you?
See, I've told you I'm well. No, I'm seriously just saying I'm okay.
No, of course you're seriously You're not
soliciting any kind of care or attention. No.
How are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
What time did you wake up this morning?
4.
4.
No, woo-wee. Not possible. 3:14 actually. My alarm was set for 3 and I snoozed it. And I was about to snooze it the second time, then we had a conversation with Ndu and we said, you know what? No.
This isn't working.
No, this is not working. Just stand up and let's go. So, then all of us agreed. And
so here we are.
And here we are doing the thing. Mm-hmm. Guys, have you seen somebody?
Yeah.
She's just pretending like now she'll just pass like a phantom.
Totally decked in black.
No, in all black.
You're talking about Ednah.
Ednah. She's here bouncing. Ednah, good morning. Shout, let them hear you. Dabas. See, we'll greet you properly later. So guys, the rain is raining. The Met department told us it's going to be like this for the next few weeks, and brace for it. Let's keep that until as we talk about some of the conversations that we'll be having today, shall we? All right, at 7 o'clock today we will have a conversation round about the role of Transport Licensing Appeals Board in enhancing access to justice. It is Justice Thursday, and joining us will be Dr. Andrew Kimani, who is the CEO and Secretary of the Transport Licensing Appeals Board. You know those things for, you need to get a PSV, you need to get a this, that, the 247. I'll confirm that number. Kenyans died abroad in the last year people who've gone to seek work. Even this latest case that we hear of, one Miss Duta who is in Vietnam facing possible execution, went under the guise, according to the stories, of getting a job abroad. And really the state of the plight of Kenyans who go to look for work outside Kenya has always been front and center of, the labor conversation. So we'll be having that conversation with him this morning at 8. And then finally at 9 o'clock, sensitivity. Teeth. We talk about it all the time. And we're going to look today at Beyond the Smile, how oral health impacts the body and the mind. It is a big deal. A lot of us don't realize just how important it is, but it's a big issue for a lot of people. And we'll be having that conversation at 9 o'clock with Dr. Nzeya Mwende. So those are the conversations that we have this morning. And, good morning to you, everybody also joining us in the room this morning. Always glad to have you. Before we say good morning to you, let's tell you and let's remind ourselves that, okay, sometimes can you imagine that you would enjoy your favorite foods without the sensitivity issues? So what does that mean? It means sinking into that fantastic ice cream or sinking into that super hot coffee, and you don't have to feel that pain anymore. Well, guess what? You don't have to imagine that anymore, because the number one brand recommended by dentists is Sensodyne, and it gives you the ultimate relief from tooth sensitivity. And how do we know? Because yes, it is the number one brand recommended by dentists, and with World Oral Health Day coming up, we are reminding you that a happy mouth is a happy mind. So from today, Sensodyne is giving you 50% off select products to keep your teeth strong. Grab your pack from any Carrefour, Naivas, Chandarana or Quickmart from today until the 23rd. Sensodyne for sensitivity relief and everyday oral health. At this point, we're going to say hello to you. We know that lots of people are clicking in and saying good morning to us on our live streams. And just to remind you that our live streams are up on YouTube, they're up on Facebook, and they are up on X for us to continue talking to each other and getting into Kenya's biggest conversation this morning. So, wacha tusalimiane leo asubuhi, sindio? Okay. Already seeing you and just saying your names. All right. Don Saba, we see you. Ndu, ask CT why he's dodging my questions. Don has woken up today with...
All right. Let's hear the question.
Okay, the ones from before I don't know.
Let me also dodge it again. Yes, go ahead.
He's saying dodging. In Malawi, we say Zemba. CT, wacha kuzemba.
Okay, what is the question that he asked?
He doesn't even have a question today. He's just asking why generally you've been dodging his question.
I haven't been dodging his questions. No.
But you've been zembaing.
No, I don't think so. Because if he asks me or he directs a question at me, I will answer to the best of my ability. If my ability falls short of his expectations, then he should lower his expectations.
I love it. Exactly, you should do just that. Where? Good morning, Ednah Achieng. Who is that? Otis.
Yes, carry on.
So I want you to just keep it moving. Ndu Amosi, meaning?
I've greeted you.
Thank you, please. CT and Aseto, hello.
Hello.
Sawa.
Ladies in the government, why are they silent on Kawira's fate? What do you mean?
It was sealed.
It's done. What should they comment anymore? The deputy president has taken over. See, we're moving. Deputy governor. President of the county is the governor.
Yeah.
That's what I meant. See, Good morning from Ombaso, says Robert Mbogo. Cyprian is also tuned in. Greetings from Dayton. R is asking me, Ndu ile pesa ya KQ umefanya? Ziko. Leo, hello, Princess Ndu. Good morning to you, CT and Aseto. Shift contribution will always lag behind registration because people check the annual premium versus private insurance premium and choose the private insurance. The issue of 4 million versus 18 million still is an issue. And now folks were arguing as of yesterday that, you know what, you shouldn't call them all registered. You should call fully registered, fully paid up.
Yeah.
So the remaining 14 million are not registered. They're just folks who are hanging around.
But it's good conversation because perhaps it's about time the government decided to offer services to those who are paid up.
This is true. Yeah.
Good thought there.
Very. Agri Momanyi says, good morning. We need to see Ednah daily kwa camera. Sasa sijui tutafanya aje. Daily.
Ednah
said you should come behind the tent. Literally. If you want to see her, come behind the tent. Maybe seeing her. I'm going to call you out here. Maybe seeing her will make you divorce your ex-wife. Enjoy your Justice Thursday. Thank you so much. So George Gashori says, good morning, everyone. Greetings from Manchester. Looking forward to a great show. Thank you so much. Tuning from Bonnie Lake is Joe Mongai. Eric Ayencha tuned in, listening. Good morning to you. Team Spice on camera and behind the camera is Kazi Safi Sana, Asante Sana, Jimmy Gakio. Mestro says, good morning. Greetings, Ndu City, and say hello from Northampton in the UK. Watching attentively from PA USA. CT, please tell us, what do you think PA stands for?
Personal assistant.
No, a state in the US.
PA. Pennsylvania.
Well, you know what I was doing. Good morning. Gilbert says, one day this country will be sold by a politician. Stay vigilant in Deopati Shayako. Edwin says, I greet you from Kericho. Good morning from Doha, Princess Ndu Denison City. The Haiti mission should be scrapped. It's messing our budget. Wolo, lo. Tuna Sondeka, says Darkness. Okay, sour. Greetings, Ojijo, tuned in from Maseno. Greetings, locked in from Rudhageti. Is Dennis. Good morning from Boston, Massachusetts. Welcome to the spring session, Team Spice. Season, rather. So spring is knocking on the doors of the US. Indeed it is. Gabriel Aya says, good morning, Team Spice. I didn't know that lying is contagious. Bernard says, good morning, Spice family. Wishing you all a fruitful morning and a great day from Bungoma. Nakuru is locked, says Gloria. And Gore, good morning, beautiful lady. Greetings and Karibu Sana. Iregi Wanjo, he says, good morning, good people. Keep up the good work. Pass my greetings to Ednah. Can I see her? Nini. Just come. Let's just sort out this thing once and for all. Nini.
We'll send the guy a picture.
We'll send her a picture. Charles Ndiaka says, good morning, my dream team and family. Good morning to you. I know CT can pronounce Massachusetts. Go.
Massachusetts.
Ednah is coming so that we can just finish the story once and for all. Sasa tasimama wapi? Next to Dennis.
Hot seat.
Oh, just come here so that you guys can see her once and for all. Bas. Okay, she's moving. Wacha ndio itoke. Bas, tafadhali.
You think ngoja kesho they will have a similar request?
Yeah.
Tomorrow they'll say they want to see Ednah. Please, Ednah, good morning. Acha nikuwekea microphone.
Bang in the middle of the
Bang in the middle of the studio. It's Ednah.
Yeah.
Ednah, say please, these people have been disturbing us for years.
Tell them I'm married.
Oh, for some people that's not a deterrent.
Yeah.
Okay, but when we are here, we are all single.
Hide this room.
Yeah, we are single. And my husband is watching. We are single. We are all single.
Hey. People should look Mutosheke. Look at how beautiful she is. Natural beauty. She also has, oodles and oodles of wisdom. This is Ednah. Normally you don't see her because she's behind this glass.
Why are you talking too much?
But let me enjoy talking. People are always asking Ednah as if we are trying to hide you. So here she is. Wamekuona
in her full glory.
Thanks very much. Okay, you people have seen her. You're happy, Abby? Okay. Good morning, Team Spice. Happy to have tuned in from Kilifi County, Isabere. Georgia Cott says, good morning to everybody. All the monetary problems we have in Kenya are because our MPs do not understand their role. Boy, that's how you've woken up today. Brother Eric says, good morning, tuned in from +252. Happen, you happy? 252? I know it. 252. It's just around the corner.
Just around the corner. This is 254.
This is 254. Tanzania is 255. Uganda is 256.
Rwanda
is 252. I don't know.
We will check.
Watching from the Netherlands, says Dennis. Dave Ouma says, Ndu Ichiwe. Oh, okay, sawa basi. Omondi says, City, inform watu waende shambani, maisha nikali to those who are in the village.
252 Somalia.
Okay, yeah. Sawa. Ivan Omondi Odera says, good morning. School, let's get a jam from the Commodores to spice us up. You want to sing something from a Commodores? City, just think of a song from the Commodores.
Commodores? Easy like Sunday morning.
Night shift, something like that. Lionel Richie was with the Commodores at some point.
Yes.
Yeah. Something like that.
So when I say easy like Sunday morning.
Easy Easy like Sunday morning. Yo, Sunday of City. They knew you would know this thing. Good morning, Team Spice. Tuned in from the UK, Yani United Kino. Oh, you've made
or United Kisumu.
You've made my morning. Muzingi's Guzi says, good morning. Good morning, Team Spice. Peer pressure has led to curtain falling. Really? Jumbo. Good morning. Tuned in from Alcor says, Where? And Jimmy Ruto has also said, ooh, Ednah. Bas, wamekuona unaona sasa. Hawa says, good morning. Rose Grace, we see you. Good morning, Sana. And everybody who joins us every morning, Karibuni Sana. Definitely don't do this without you. And we're glad that you're always clicking in. We are in the Republic of the Sudan.
We are.
What's our proverb for today, CT?
Our proverb for today is an interesting one because it throws in a phrase that you need to understand before you can understand it better. Better your la bob than people's dates.
Okay, first of all, what's a la bob?
That's the thing. That's why I said it. It's interesting. It's a traditional multi-herbal formulation used by the Persians, and usually it was used to treat male infertility.
Okay. So,
when a man finds that he is not responding adequately to the national anthem,
you didn't say that.
When you can't salute.
They take that layer, Bob. Who are you? Who are you and what have you done with CT? Okay, so they take the layer bob.
It is better your layer bob than other people's dates. Whether should I cut to nazo
than somebody else's sweet thing.
Whatever hooch you've concocted,
drink your hooch.
Just drink it. Forget the dates that other people have.
You know, someone who's listening today, that's such a throwback. It's a Thursday. Remember where you're from.
Where?
Thursday. Till we get to Thursday, you've had the energy levels beginning to dip.
Thursday will do that.
And I like
you
it.
You need a little boom.
Maybe I should go and concoct.
Maybe you need your own bob.
Wow.
Maybe you need your own. My goodness. Aya. Sour bus. Pain, suffering, fury. That's the headline on Kenya's bold newspaper, The Standard. More than 1 million teachers, police, and their dependents have been left to their own devices after hospitals refused to treat them on government insurance. The service providers say the Social Health Authority is yet to pay debts and have no option but to shut their doors on the officers, tutors, and their families during their time of need if they cannot pay cash for treatment. That is where we are. Vroom is the next headline. Vroom. 100,000 fans expected at Safari Rally. 17 billion shilling bounty for Stand Chart investors. Rwanda, DRC in surprise Qatar talks. Was that a surprise? But that's what we saw. And we'll be looking at some of those stories, even some more of those that are making the headlines today. Court blocks JSC from arguing Justice Mwilu and Ibrahim cases. And Kalonzo and Wamalwa raise alarm over Haiti mission and warn of risks. Quite something in the papers today. Looking at some more of them as we get them, but then we'll look into some of those details as we go along. CT, you want to tell us what you have on the digital papers for now?
I do. In the Star. Politico losing patience over expected appointment to plum jobs. This is in the political desk. Kenya among nations running out of ARVs. Okay? You wonder why. Remember the declaration and the dictum that President Trump of the USA, cancel this, cancel that, cancel this, that one, okay? Gazette notice why KDF can still occupy the streets. This, yes, the CS for defense, CS Tuya was before the Senate, and it is when she was there that she mentioned these things. And this particular Gazette notice was, of course, put in place by the immediate former Defense Secretary, CS Aden Duale. And he cited Article 241 of the Constitution, Sections 31, 33, and 34 of the KDF Act of 2012. And if you look at the function of the KDF, you cannot say that the interpretation was actually wrong. Not really. Not really. Yes. The assumption is that KDF is only meant to restore or to deal with external issues, instability or perceived instability within a country, restoring order. Those are some of the functions that they have. How this will ring true and how this will resonate when you interpret it, or you give it, when you choose to give it an adverse interpretation, is a different matter. But that is what she said. Okay? Safaricom set to unveil its second cohort of Spark Accelerator Plan. I have no idea what Spark is, but we'll look at that later. Okay? Why doing business with state is a risky venture. No. It is not a risky venture in this country. It's a death sentence. Yes.
In terms of you will not get paid.
No. The moment you have a discussion on pending bills which never seem to go away, and it's in the billions, it means that is money owed to people.
Yes.
If it is owed, it means they haven't been paid.
Yeah.
And if their businesses, what state do you think those businesses are in, even now as we speak? And I do not think that it is necessarily a good thing. Okay? So, when we talk about problems galore, yes. It is problems galore. Okay? Now let's look at Business Daily, shall we?
Yes.
Yes. By the way, this Business Daily thing, this is online. Huh? It takes it's quite some time before it's on.
So you need to give it a minute.
But the line is there. It's just the on, which is taking a moment. By the way, what I didn't do, though, even as I was going about this business, I did not tell you what was bang in the middle of the paper.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Actually,
I didn't. So I need to go back to that before I go to the business.
Absolutely.
Kenyans lured to brothels in the Middle East and Asia. Just bang in the middle of the star. The report singled out Middle East giants, among them Saudi Arabia, UAE and Qatar, as countries where the practice is prevalent. This story we must look at. If we do not look at anything else, this one we must look
absolutely.
at. See, absolutely.
And we're going to have a conversation around that with the PS when he comes at 8 as well. One of the big issues.
No, this is not big. It is huge.
Oh, sorry, at 9 o'clock.
Yes. All right. Speculators raid Uchumi stock, make it top performer in NSC. This is Business Daily. Okay? Then, we also say Kenyans purchase 4 million smartphones in 3 months. We Kenyans, in 3 months, we purchase smartphones, okay, worth 4 million.
4 million devices.
Yes. Wow. So it doesn't tell you how much each individual purchased, but there we are. Households outpace businesses in new loans for first time in 6 years. Individuals are borrowing more than businesses.
Wow.
Yes, it means people are borrowing to survive.
Yeah. To eat. Daily.
That's what they are doing. And if you look at the proliferation of these loan shark apps that exist and why they keep increasing, it tells you that there's a demand for that particular service.
There is.
Yes. So yes. Now, bang in the middle of this particular paper, how KQ petrol levy broke Kenya's 110 billion IMF deal. Okay. There was an IMF deal, and we seem to have broken it. Simply, this one I have to read. Okay. Kenya failed to honor 11 conditions agreed upon with the IMF, including restructuring Kenya Airways and spending of billions of shillings collected from fuel levy, costing the country 110 billion Kenya shillings in funding. Okay.
Wow. Okay. See, let's do this. Yes. Because City has dropped his phone and he's wondering what on earth is going on here. Okay. Do you have... No, you don't.
No.
So let's look at traffic for a minute, and then we come back and look at some of these stories in detail, because there's quite some to cover today. It's 28 minutes to 7 o'clock. Kenya's biggest conversation continues when we come back and look at stories making headlines in greater detail.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
16 degrees and cloudy, rainy conditions in Nairobi, highs of 23, and we'll see highs of 24 in a mostly cloudy Nakuru at 15. It's 15 and cloudy in Nyeri, while at 14 it is cloudy in Eldoret, going to highs of 24. Mombasa sunny at 26 through Thursday, will go to highs of 33, and at 27 it is sunny in Malindi. 20 and partly cloudy into Kisumu, while Kakamega at 17 is cloudy. We'll see highs of 26. And it's 19 and rainy in Kampala this morning with highs of 25. Dar es Salaam at 26 is sunny with highs of 32, while Johannesburg at 12 is cloudy. We'll see highs of 23. Mogadishu cloudy at 26, and at 15 Addis is cloudy at 15. We're looking into a cloudy Lagos at 28 and a cloudy Kinshasa at 25.
Spice up your life.
Okay, nothing crazy with traffic at the moment. We're just seeing a build-up that's starting on the Eastern Bypass. We're also seeing the same thing on Kangunda Road. And in and outbound traffic will do the thing as you're trying to touch on Outer Ring. The Thika Superhighway is also looking it's looking good right around now. Survey is where we have a build-up of that as you get towards the junctions between Muranga Road and Wangari Maathai. Looking on the western part of the city, not much coming off of Waiyaki Way. And we'll see some traffic then on Naivasha Road as it touches on Gong Road. But apart from that, it looks good. The Southern Bypass is flowing freely in and outbound, and Langata Road for now looks good as well. Magadi Road, not much popping off here, but we're going to keep an eye on things as we get properly into traffic hour. SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay, so the story that is on the front page of the Standard today is on pain, suffering and fury. More than 1 million teachers, police and their dependents have been left to their own devices. When it comes to healthcare, go figure it out. Why? Because hospitals have refused to treat them on government insurance, which they depend on, really. The service providers say the Social Health Authority is yet to pay debts. This continues to be a developing issue, and they have no option but to shut their doors on the officers, tutors and their families during time of need if they cannot pay cash for treatment. Now, what are we looking at? 11 billion shillings is the massive debt. Hospitals are owed 11 billion under the teachers cover, affecting 403,522 teachers and their 969,638 dependents. Blame on insurance providers. The crisis is attributed to non-payment by the defunct National Hospital Insurance Fund, NHIF, its successor Social Health Authority, and Medical Administrators Kenya Limited, which is Minet Kenya. Now, let's look at it and how it goes. 7 delayed payments. Hospitals are denying services to over 1 million teachers, police officers, and their dependents due to unpaid capitation for 7 months. Right to healthcare at risk. Teachers and police officers warn that prolonged delays violate their right to healthcare and dignity, affecting morale and productivity. 6. Hospitals withdrawing services. At least 6 hospitals, including Tenwek Hospital and Kisi Referral, have stopped offering medical services to teachers on credit. 110,000 police affected. Over 110,000 police officers and their dependents under the National Police Service and Kenya Prison Service face similar issues. Guys, this is not a joke. It's a bit of a big deal. And looking into more details of that story, we see here that hospitals blame the situation obviously on the payment that has not come from NHIF. Some teachers disclosed that some facilities are denying them treatment even though they have not issued official notices. Under contract terms, hospitals must give a 7-day notice before suspending services. Minet runs about 600 medical providers across the country, but more hospitals may follow suit if the issue remains unsolved. Tuesday, Minet Kenya Chief Executive Officer Sami Mudhui said they were working with the government to ensure the balance is settled. It is an issue touching on all sectors due to cash flow issues in the country. Boom. There is quite a substantive pending balance, but some good progress has been made by TSC in negotiations to offset the balance. Similarly, police officers under APA Insurance, which took over their medical scheme from CIC Insurance in April last year, have reported worsening conditions. I have a chronic condition, according to one individual who sought anonymity. That requires constant monitoring. The last time I was in Nairobi West, I was told to wait another 2 weeks before I could get another consultation. How do you tell a sick person to wait 14 days? Does illness wait? And that's the question. Now, the KNUT Secretary General Collins Oyu said the situation was robbing teachers of their dignity, noting that those living with chronic illnesses were the most affected. We will not sit back and watch as our teachers suffer. We need a clear outline of how the government plans to offset the pending balance to hospitals, and also have a conversation with the hospitals so that the teachers get the services that they deserve. It's for teachers, it's police. I mean, that video that we saw, obviously, of police in Makweni when they were having that conversation about how they needed their medical issues sorted is an issue, and that it has come to this is the problem. Hundreds of thousands of people and their dependents are not going to be able to access care until this is sorted out.
And the sorted out, according to the bodies representing them, is there is over 30 billion shillings that is pending from NHIF. That is the bone of contention, because they're saying, even as we sit right now with SHA, there is fear that we will get to the 30 billion, to that amount again, 30 billion shillings, if the pending bills are not paid. So it is not even about the payments from SHA, it's about clear the debts that you already have, amounting to over 30 billion shillings.
This is it. And they have been offering services. They have been offering services even with that.
That is what the difference is. Therefore, they require a mandate.
Yes. We have a system that has a mind of its own.
This does its own thing.
It's what you call independence.
I'm telling you.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's pretty much the bone of contention. And I think it's about time that the government starts addressing the pending bills that are there, because services will not be offered until the pending bills are paid.
You know, this situation is far more serious than it appears on the surface. Because you're juggling, which is clear. The problem with this sort of juggling, at some point, will come to an end. What then happens? This is where you now start looking at the worst case scenario. Because if some of these things are not sorted, and by the way, the sorting out doesn't mean you pay the 30 billion shillings at one go. It means you have a program, a process that you honor. If we say we are going to pay you on this date, we pay. You know the way we pay debts, external debts. On a certain date, we make sure
that day,
that one.
Yes.
Okay. You organize it so that there is enough money so that it is paid on that day. Believe me, you pay 2 or 3 times, you gain confidence. People feel they are being paid. Things go back to normal. But this haphazard thing where you're not sure, you talk to it, we've given you this.
Or you even come and you tell people, how do we even know that the bill you're telling us is correct?
Try to withdraw your services, will shut you down.
No. That conversation, that is a bit misplaced. That is not a conversation for the situation that we find ourselves in. Okay? Even if the amount isn't much, honor it. Just honor it. And keep honoring it. Confidence grows and says they are honoring the word they have given. And suddenly we are moving. But when you have all these sectors of the economy somehow having the same problem and they are all talking the same language, this is how you come to a shutdown.
Yeah.
And coming out of it is difficult.
True.
Because the economy then will also move at that pace, which means it will be crawling. So even the targets that we're speaking of, my friend, will not be met at all. We won't even approximate reaching it. This can be avoided.
Which begs the question, City, because if we talk about NHIF and even SHA, these are monies that are deducted from individuals. And you find those who are going to seek services are people who are registered, and rightfully so, they pay for these services. So where does this money go? Why is it so difficult for the government to release the monies they already have to service.
Okay, let's assume that you don't have 11 billion at the moment. Let's just say that you don't have 11 billion. Do you have one? Do you have two? Can you start to offset?
Work with what you have.
Exactly. Do something. Show that you have the goodwill to even settle this thing. But when what you meet is brawn and brash, when people are asking you to pay so that they can continue to offer services, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? Animosity is met with animosity. People are going to say, okay, fine, that's how you want to say it, then we will just give people services who pay cash.
Because there's a feeling that matters to do with healthcare is not priority. There are other things that are given utmost priority than healthcare.
We can do better.
Because even the officer, if you could hear him speak, he was saying, I'm an officer. By the time I was joining the force, I had good eyes. I was supposed to be out there.
Oh, wow.
Then you put me in front of a desk. The machines that we use has destroyed my eyes. So then I need glasses. I go to an optician and I'm supposed to pay around 15,000 shillings. But I cannot do that because the cover does not cover. Yet it is the work that has destroyed my eyes.
You don't really want to have these sort of issues in that sector.
Nope. You really don't.
You don't.
And that's being prescriptive.
You don't. Because if money was allocated for this, if money is deducted, whatever manner in which this thing is supposed to ensure that service is provided, this juggling has to stop at some point.
Yeah. You just got to do what you need to do.
Let the services move. Keep your word. Make a promise and keep it. And continue negotiating. Not grandstanding, not threatening. Just keep negotiating. You know, there's nothing we're dealing with here that cannot actually be resolved.
True.
Because the thing that Kenyans have is goodwill. But if you keep reducing it, then what do you think you're going to be dealing with? That goodwill is what makes the discussions possible.
Where? We
talked about over 100 billion shillings. We need a breakdown on how that has been spent.
So far.
So far.
Yeah.
Because 100 billion shillings, if you decide to spend 10 billion shillings, there's that story. Okay. Where? Now, when you need it is when it is not there. City, do you have anything on your side?
Yes.
As I go through this.
Yes. I want to look at.
So,
go ahead.
Okay.
What's wrong with you?
Mudavadi.
Okay.
1,000 Kenyans are in jail abroad.
Yeah.
Now, at least 1,000 Kenyans are behind bars in various countries over different offences. It has emerged. A revelation came at the remarks Tuesday as he cautioned Kenyans travelling abroad to obey the laws of the countries they visit. He stated that the laws of the host countries apply whenever a crime is committed. Although Mudavadi said the government is working on a solution for Nduta's case, he described it as unfortunate that a Kenyan is facing such a situation. He said that the Ministry of Foreign and Diaspora Affairs has been engaging with Vietnamese authorities to seek mitigation. It is not a pleasant situation and we hope there will be a solution, but there are issues that we must also address. I can tell you that in different countries today, we have about 1,000 Kenyans facing incarceration, according to Mudavadi. So, 1,000 Kenyans out there in various countries who are incarcerated. What does that say in terms of just respecting the laws of the land? Because this is where Nduta finds herself in. It is a situation where one would argue that Kenyans leave the country without doing the background search and research, finding out what those countries do. Because you find people say Dubai is open and whatnot, but you go there and you find there are things you cannot do in Dubai, but you go do them anyway.
Well, I mean, what are we talking about when it comes to laws, to the laws of nations? That if you find yourself having broken the law in another nation, and this is what their law says, then you're going to suffer the consequences for it. I mean, just like we said, there are foreigners who've broken the law in Kenya, and they have gone through a court process, and they have been charged, they've been found guilty, they have been sentenced. There are some foreigners who are serving sentences here in Kenya. And so then, does that change? If Kenya's policy, foreign policy, when it comes to what happens to its citizens should they be charged and then therefore convicted of a crime in another nation? What's the policy concerning that?
Yeah.
So when you talk about 1,000 Kenyans in jails abroad, is there a policy that says you would prefer that your citizens come back to the nation to then be tried? Are there bilateral agreements that you have with other countries so that in the event that something happens, you bring them back to Kenya? If you're not like the US, who says that every American must come back and be tried on, US continental soil, then guess what? You're going to have 1,000 plus more Kenyans in jails in other countries.
That particular rule presupposed certain conditions being constant. When America was big brother helping everybody, some of these deals, and I'm calling them deals that were signed, could be honored. The moment they don't have the same position they held before, an American will be arrested and will be tried in the country where they're arrested. And then America can do what they want. Reciprocity is very key in these issues. What I wanted to look at was what we call the termination of the IMF program that we've had, and the amount of money that we now will not be able to get. Very simply, this is what was required of Kenya. Okay? They were supposed to initiate some reforms. Okay? Now, some of these reforms were not initiated. Some were initiated but not completed. Okay? Now, there is the issue among these policies. We have a target that we set for revenue collection, but you find that our spending outstrips what it is that we can collect. So that creates a debt situation that becomes very, very difficult to manage. Now, one of the things that we seem to also have is whenever we talk of economic targets as a country, we seem to miss out on these as well. But we talk about them as though we're meeting them, and yet we're actually not meeting them. It's what you call a lack of coordination between the fiscal and monetary policies that we have. Now, simply put, we are not managing our affairs well. And we are not meeting the understanding and the agreements that we had with the IMF. Now, you see, let's mirror it to what it is that the government has agreed with stakeholders within the country. We have a similar problem. Promises are made through CBAs and other understandings, and then those promises are not met.
Kept.
So it causes a situation where we have increasing angst, and that brings about increasing instability. It isn't a situation that has reached fever pitch, but it has to start somewhere. And it has definitely started.
It has started.
Yes.
And it might just get to fever pitch if something is not done about it.
Something has to be done, and done, not spoken of.
And I think
done.
I could tie this conversation with the conversation you were having yesterday with the lady from ABSA.
Yes.
Yeah. And you remember
that is Elizabeth,
yes. When we were having discussion with Elizabeth, she mentioned something that resonates with our situation in the country, the sense that the bank would look at your books and look at your performance and tell you to fix this for them to be able to give you a loan. Now, IMF told us you need to fix this for us to extend. But now here's a situation where what we were told to fix, we are not fixing. Therefore, the risks of us not paying the debt is high. Are we surprised?
No, we're not. You see, payment has to do again with revenue.
Yeah.
As you said, Elizabeth talked about looking at your income. It's not difficult. This is what you earn.
Yes.
Now, this is what you say you want, but we can't give you this because you need to pay. And from what you earn, it's clear you can't pay this.
You can't pay because you won't get it.
Yes. So, you need to marry the two. Now, this is the simple situation that we find ourselves in. And yet, the discussion around giving the economy a boost has to do with stimulus injection of money into the economy. One simple way is to pay debts. Debts we're talking about are what? Pending bills. It's not complicated. You pay those. You pay hospitals. You pay locally. The money goes in the system. More activities.
Because you've paid, people can do things. Now that you've given people what you owe, they can now actually go purchase. They can put money back.
Everything increases. Everything increases. Simple understanding.
Another thing Elizabeth said, no big company has ever made it without what? Without borrowing.
Yep.
Hey. Okay, we are the ones taking advice from our fathers.
Where?
Usichukue loan, utakuweka chini.
Court blocks JSC from arguing Justice Mwilo and Ibrahim cases. Now, the judiciary fight still continue. The High Court Tuesday barred the Judicial Service Commission from presenting its case on whether the cases filed by Deputy Chief Justice Philomena Mwilu and Justice Ibrahim should be stayed. Do you understand what I've just said?
Yes.
Okay. The Commission's lawyer, Issa Mansour, said he would argue the Commission's case using existing judgment and the law. Senior lawyer Paul Nyamodi supported Mansour's argument. He said JSC was the main party in the case and urged the court to allow all parties to give their side of the story as the cases involved senior judges. Nyamodi was representing Dari Limited and former Radieda Member of Parliament Raphael Tuju, who are among those who want an overhaul of the Apex Court. Nevertheless, the judge said that none of the parties who did not follow his directive to file submissions would be allowed to present the case. Any party that has not filed written submissions or skeleton shall not be permitted to highlight, as they have nothing to highlight. However, any list and bundles of authorities be considered, according to Justice Bahati Mwamuye. In the meantime, lawyer Nelson Harvey argued that the court erred by stopping a constitutional process. They have relied on High Court ruling by Justice Eric Ogola, Frida Mugambi and Anthony Mrima, who allowed Parliament to complete the impeachment process for the former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. He said the court should exercise restraint as no decision had been made to send the judge's files to the President to empanel a tribunal to remove or dismiss the petitions. So at this point, the question is, do the petitions now stay? At the same time, Harvey said the cases are not novel and do not require more than one judge to decide. He said the judges have been removed under similar circumstances in the last decade. Where? So right now where we are is that we don't know.
We don't know.
That's exactly where we are. We don't know that right now there's a robust fight to remove certain judges from the Supreme Court, if not the whole kit and caboodle on it, completely. But so now it becomes a tussle between the court and the JSC and those particular judges. So it's a wait and see. Justice really, and the judiciary really is on trial here.
Yeah.
Yep.
There is that story of the missing fisherman's mother confronting the CS yesterday. And Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen was yesterday forced to cut short his speech after an interruption by the mother of missing fisherman Brian Odhiambo. Elizabeth Auma, Odhiambo's mother, was among the locals gathered at the Shabab grounds in Nakuru for the launch of the mobile national identity card registration drive, which was presided over by Murkomen, donned in a t-shirt with the words, "Justice for my son." Auma did everything she could to reach the CS despite efforts by security personnel to block her. Murkomen intervened, asking the security personnel to allow Auma to approach him at the podium, promising her to address her concerns. And the CS said he would do everything to ensure that the mother gets answers. And as a government, we will not allow a situation where a Kenyan goes missing without being accounted for. That is not the role of the government. The government is here to ensure that lives are protected.
Well done, Murkomen.
Yeah.
That one. Well done. That is good. That is what you call showing a human face.
Yes.
Well done.
Yes. It was necessary, I think. It was necessary to do, and I just hope that will just be pushed, continuously, because these are some of the things that we talk about all the time. Showing a little bit of care and value, it goes a long way.
Yeah.
It goes a long way to ensure that trust is,
because then remember,
top.
Even the people who are at the center of this is KWS, who are charged in taking care of not only just the wildlife but even the people themselves.
Indeed.
So these are people squarely under his authority, and let's see how he will push that, hoping that Madam Elizabeth gets the answers that she deserves. Yes.
Yeah. So a number of CSs have said a number of things in the last couple of days, and let's look at one more before we come to the top of the hour. Tuya, we did no wrong in using KDF during unrest. You know that the number of CSs have been before Senate. The government has defended its move to unleash the army on civilians during the deadly Gen Z protests last year, saying territorial sovereignty of the country was under threat. At the same time, it has dismissed reports of a possible military coup last year as baseless, inaccurate and reckless. Appearing before the Senate yesterday, Defense Cabinet Secretary Soipan Tuya was hard-pressed to explain the involvement of the Kenya Defense Forces, the KDF. Kisumu Senator Tom Agenda took the minister to task when he asked her to explain the point at which the KDF was allowed to intervene and deal with internal strife in relation to the Gen Z protests. The senator wanted clarity on the modalities of the involvement of the military, with keen interest on the threshold that must be met to inform the inability of the police to deal with internal strife. At what point is it deemed fit for the KDF to intervene when there is no real threat and the National Police Service is unable to contain the threat? Tuya, in her response, said that the threshold was the KDF stepping in to support the police. That's the threshold. The police needed support, so who do we call in? We call in the KDF. What other threshold are you looking for? Nada. And there was none. But that threshold, particularly, was met. Yeah. And she said it's a thing that the military can actually come in to support police, and that is something that is well understood across board. She said the deployment of the military when protesters invaded Parliament on 25th of June last year was aimed at supporting the police, just as in the case when the secondary mandate of the KDF, and that is a secondary mandate of the KDF. But this particular one did not require approval from the National Assembly. She said, and I quote, whereas the primary responsibility for internal security does lie with other specialized agency, the National Police Service and the National Intelligence Service, where internal threats to territorial integrity and sovereignty of Kenya rises, KDF may be deployed.
Yes, Parliament has to approve. If someone wants to tell us Parliament doesn't have to approve, they have to explain
why Parliament doesn't have to approve.
Yes, and where in our constitution it says that, just so that we understand and we know.
Yeah, because there are certain things where Parliament can then give their assent after the fact. But we know what those are, and they are in law, when it comes to spending of money, when it comes to borrowing of money, that you can go ahead and do it, and then we can come back later. In terms of deploying the military. And Parliament doesn't internally, and you don't need parliamentary approval.
A little explanation would be necessary.
It really would be.
Yes, it would.
Because the core mandate of KDF is to protect the borders.
Exactly. Yes. Some of the stories that we're looking at this morning, and then coming into conversations this hour, we're getting into a justice conversation at 7. Good morning. It's now 7 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning. This is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. Treasury Cabinet Secretary John Mbadi has expressed optimism that Kenya can successfully repay all its debt if the government tackles corruption by 50%. Speaking in an interview with a local TV station, Mbadi also said the National Treasury is developing strategies to increase the rate of tax collected and reduce government spending on various public institutions. He claimed that national external debt is about 280 billion shillings, which according to him can be achieved by strengthening government performance systems, including tackling corruption and reducing spending.
Corruption starts from budgeting. We are going for zero-based budgeting. We want to standardize prices of commodities and items. At the procurement, we are going e-procurement. We are going to reduce human interaction. We are also going to accrual basis, where we are now going to capture everything, government assets, government liabilities, so that you don't hide some below the line. So these are steps that we are sure will reduce drastically the theft and plunder of public funds. It's not corruption, it's theft of public funds.
The National Treasury CS also faulted devolution, which resulted in the formation of 47 counties in state. Kenya should revert to the 8 provinces as in the previous constitution, or a maximum of 14.
47 counties are just too much for our country. 47 counties, each one of them with a full-fledged government, a governor who is a mini president, with a deputy who is a running mate and struggling to find work to do. And then you have ministers, they call them ministers, the chief executive members, CEC members. You know, we used to, those old days, when we first had the Majimbo constitution, we had regional governments, regional assemblies. They were a bit fewer compared to today. I think a conversation, Kenyans should get into a conversation whether, is this the kind of devolution that we needed?
Budget statement comes as county governments are repeatedly complaining about lack of funds that they say are hampering the delivery of services at the grassroots level. Former Prime Minister Raila Odinga has continued to defend his partnership with President William Ruto while ignoring some leaders who have been criticizing his decision to partner with Kenya Kwanza. Speaking at an iftar party in Upper Hill area, Raila continued to attack former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua, saying it's impossible that after he was removed from office, he sees that Raila has become a good leader, whereas before he used to attack him with harsh words and even at some point claimed that he had put up traps everywhere in State House.
Kuna wengine ambao wanawaambia sisi tuingia pande nyingine, hiyo ni mzuri, lakini nasema bwana, jana wewe ulikuwa unasema sisi ni nyang'au, leo wewe unatuambia sisi sasa leo tumekuwa malaika, tumebadilika, tumekuwa kutoka nyang'au tulikuwa malaika namna gani? Kwa hivyo sisi wenyewe hatuwezi kudanganywa, tunajua pale tunataka kwenda. Naambia watu wetu wasimame imara, nina hakika tutafika, lakini hatutaki unafiki ya mtu ambaye anasema hapo wewe tumeweka mtego. Waswahili wasema mtego wa panya ushika waliomo na sio kwemo. Sasa wale ambao waliweka mtego ndio mtego wamewashika. Sisi tutaenda pamoja.
Raila also warned that Kenya still faces several challenges when it comes to achieving a free and fair election. He, however, urged Kenyans to continue to unite and champion national unity, saying it's the only way to bring unity among the various ethnic groups instead of promoting regional and tribal politics.
Najua mambo tumekuwa naye pande atakufanya uchaguzi, tuko na shida. Hatujafika kile kiwango ambayo unafanya uchaguzi ile ambayo inaitwa free and fair. Lakini wakati itafika. Kwa hivyo mpaka sisi zote tu sacrifice. Tumefika pale tuko hapa, sio mahali ambayo tungependa tuwe hapa. Lakini nchi mpaka endelee mbele. Sababu zingine tunaweza kusema tushikiliane hapa na pale, tuvuke hapa tungeenda pale nyingine. Tuna hakika ya kwamba tutafika pale tunataka kwenda. Kwa sababu mimi naambia watu wetu tusimame pamoja, tukae pamoja. Hatua ambayo tumechukua tunayajua.
That's the news wire. I'm Lea Obaga.
Spice FM, Nakuru.
All right, with a few slippery streets here and there into the city, we're going to see traffic slow down just a tad as you're waking up to it this morning. We're not seeing too much coming off of Thika Superhighway. We just saw that right around Survey there was some traffic. A quick look at what that looks like now and seeing that it's developing a little bit as you come in from Githurai and then head out towards Garden City. So that is busy. And also on Kiambu Road, we're seeing some traffic has piled up as well. Kangunda Road has been busy all morning, and we're also seeing that on the Eastern Bypass, traffic is finding its way through towards the Cabanas interchange. The Southern Bypass looks good as you get into the city, and also a little bit of traffic has started to form on Ngong Road as you get into the CBD. And we're looking at the same thing happening on Waiyaki Way, then getting into Westlands and then out to the city as well. All right, let's see what happens as we get into traffic hour into Thursday. SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 9 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
6 minutes after 7 o'clock into the second hour of Kenya's biggest conversation this Thursday, and getting into some conversations that we will have today. As I remind you, today, the 20th of March. Imagine biting into your favorite foods again without the fear of pain. That stone cold ice cream or that super hot coffee, just the way you like it. Well, you don't have to imagine that anymore, because Sensodyne is here to give you the ultimate relief from tooth sensitivity. And how do we know this? Because it is the #1 recommended brand by dentists, and with World Oral Health Day coming up, we are reminding you that a happy mouth is a happy mind. And to get this, Sensodyne is giving you 50% off on selected products from today until the 23rd of March at any outlets of Carrefour, Naivas, Quickmart and Chandarana, and that's from today until the 23rd. Remember, sensitivity, Sensodyne, for tooth sensitivity relief and everyday oral health. All right. Our Justice Thursday conversation for today gets into and around conversations on the role of the Transport Licensing Appeals Board in terms of enhancing access to justice. Dr. Andrew Kimani is seated in the hot seat today, and we'll be having that conversation with him. He's the CEO and Secretary of the Transport Licensing Appeals Board. Good morning, Dr. Kimani.
Good morning. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you for being here.
Asante.
Karibu sana.
Yes.
Big issues that we look at around this particular sector, and then what the appeals board can actually provide for people. But even as we get into the conversation today, we're going to welcome you to the Situation Room. CT is going to share today's proverb with you, and then we'd like you to interpret that and tell us what it means to you.
All right.
Okay.
Our proverbs the whole of this week come from the Republic of the Sudan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now where the heck are those proverbs? Right. Better the leerbob. No, sorry. Better your leerbob than people's dates. Now, I have to explain what a leerbob is. It's a herbal concoction.
Yes.
That was used in Persia, and one of the uses that it had is an interesting one. It was used for male infertility.
Oh.
Yes. It's always interesting to watch how men react when you mention.
I know, every time.
When you mention male infertility.
Every time.
Yes. So better that particular concoction than people's dates. Now, let's call it a herbal treatment and other people's dates, shall we? So better your herbal treatment than people's dates. Dates is it a fruit? What is it?
It's a fruit.
It's a fruit?
Yes.
Okay, fine.
You started with male potency, which is, of course, very touchy. That's why he also clinched. But I'm thinking that you can rise to the occasion. Yes. Literally, yeah.
The three of you need to behave.
I think that it's better something that you have self-prescribed. It doesn't seem as bitter because you know actually why you're taking it, than something that someone else will tell you will work for you. Yet you're not. It's poison. Poison, I said, is not as lethal when you take it. Yes, because you know why you're taking it. Okay, it's no longer an illegality. Yes, the court pronounced itself, but I think that's what it means to me.
Okay. You put it very well.
Thank you.
Indeed.
Very, very well indeed.
Yeah.
Simple and to the point. Thank you.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Far be it from somebody who works, who deals with appeals issues, to be far away from issues concerning justice, isn't it? And so, the role of the Transport Licensing Appeals Board in enhancing access to justice. Can we start from there in the first place? That the Transport Licensing Appeals Board. Yeah. Tell us about this board. What does it do? What's its mandate?
Thank you so much, Joe. I think the Transport Licensing Appeals Board is one of the bodies under the judiciary. It's formed from the NTSA Act, and basically we listen, or we are there to check against any grievance you might have against NTSA, especially licensing. But we have expanded our mandate because number one, there's no other body that deals with issues of registration, for example, because you have various clans from members of the public, 5 million of you guys. If you have an issue with your driving license, NTSA has refused to give you the various classes. We've had issues of classes, tuk-tuks, boda-bodas, any form of license that is given by NTSA, that falls under our mandate. Recently, and that's why I was possibly checking on the papers, we had a decision that was made by the board that is led by our chairman, Dr. Adrian Kamodo, where the board made a decision that bodybuilders, because the matter has not been appealed yet, so we can discuss it, bodybuilders cannot be issued with both a license and still what we call a conformity assessor's license, meaning it's like they're assessing their own.
It's like a conflict of interest.
Yes. So that is what the board decided, that they either look for a third party or look for someone else who can offer those services. And it's a case that it's a monumental case. It's according to me jurisprudential, because there's no way you're going to be both a referee and a coach, or a player and still referee. So that is what one of the decisions that I'm actually proud that the board has made. And it was made last week. I know it's going to be to have a bit of a shake-up, because the standard, what you call KS, the KEB standard that have been provided for bodybuilding, also Kenyans, which gives for quality assurance, is the one that also ensures that if you can be able to make standards, anyone can be licensed as a conformity assessor.
Can I just hold you for a moment, Dr.
Yes.
When you talk about bodybuilding, me, I'm thinking gym.
Motor vehicle manufacturers, those that build a certain standard.
Yes.
So NTSA issues licenses for manufacturers or bodybuilders. Okay.
Vehicle bodybuilders.
Motor vehicles.
So licenses are actually issued to people who want to build.
Yes.
Like,
to modify.
Yes.
There's a chassis, there's an engine.
And then the body.
The people who build that,
yes,
they require licensing.
Yes, they do. And that is license number one. You can build. You're given some standards, a form of standards. Then number two, you must be assessed, right? So who is coming to assess you? So the issue that was at hand was an appellant had brought a case where he was accusing NTSA of licensing one company or one association who are both their members are bodybuilders, and then they have a trading arm with the same name plus now trading arm limited, and they are still the assessors. You get?
So license is given to people who want to do this work.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
All right. What are the qualifications that somebody must have before you can even apply to be a bodybuilder? Because to get a license, you have to apply for it.
Yes.
Okay. Just so that we understand.
Yes.
What is this thing that you need to have in order to be able to actually qualify to apply for a license to build?
Of course,
vehicle bodies.
You must have engineers. You know, it's a normal company like Isuzu or Toyota, or Akina. The ones that you see, the ones that the trucks. What is written at Akina Bachu? Yes. You must have engineers. You must have various forms of licenses, including by Kenyans, including by KEBs. All these. Normal. It's a normal company. Okay. Then you apply for a license from NTSA. They go through a checklist. You have 1, 2, 3. Here's your license. I think it's paid for 9,000 shillings for bodybuilding. Anyone can be a bodybuilder. But now the point of contention the client had was, you have given this person, I've given you a license for bodybuilding. Then those bodybuilding, the standards must be assessed. Who is assessing them? There's a conformity assessor. What also, for you to get the conformity assessor's license issued by NTSA, there's also a checklist, including by Kenyans.
Okay.
Right? Then you, for the case that was we are discussing, you have another trading arm where you are also the CEO. One, you are the CEO of the Bodybuilders Association. The other, you are the CEO of the assessors. All right.
Okay.
So yes.
And these are different licenses. It's not
Yes.
as though we're saying it's the same license that needs to be made present with each and every one of these bodies.
Exactly.
So it's a different license that I have to bring for NTSA. It's a different license I must bring for KEBS.
Yes.
It's a different license I must bring for these other individuals that. Okay. So then when I look at access to justice, it seems like there's quite some that needs to be done in order for folks to operate. Where does the justice part then come in here?
Okay, let me first finish on this matter.
Okay.
Then once you have all these, then you go to NTSA, present them. They give you the assessor's license. Now, you're bodybuilding, then you come and assess yourself according to what the judgment read, which the board held in its wisdom that this should not happen. It should be done by another neutral third party. That is one matter. We've also made decisions on before I go to access to justice on issues of like good conduct. Initially, for you to be given a PSV license is the one for matatu drivers, touts. Before you're given that license, you needed to have a good conduct. The issue of good conduct came up like two years ago. You see these people who are field stages. They're called Kamagera. Kupiga. The ones, wanakuambia, they usher you into
Sorry,
Asha.
what?
Let's say Asha. They usher you into a matatu.
The conductors.
The guys who call you to the ones.
No, they're not conductors.
Yeah.
Some people call them Manamba.
Yeah. Those guys, the squad people.
Yes, squad.
No, you understood.
Yeah. So, we had an issue once coming to court. We went to a stage. We are like, how come there are so many people? You know those questions you never ask yourself. We're in Asha. There are so many people who are trying to usher people in. Then the board director told me, can you just find out what is going on? Because these are too many people who are not getting into a matatu.
Yeah.
Or they're just there with faded uniforms. And just decided, went and talked to them and asked them, how come you guys cannot at least get the license? Or, how come you guys are not inside the matatu either as a driver or a makanga? Mnajaza the squad people. The issues we got there were varied, and one of the thing is they told us that I cannot be given this PSV to be a driver because I do not have a good conduct. Why? Because I had been arrested. Okay, arrest comes in this way. Once you're arrested, a good conduct shows you've not had committed a crime the past 1 year. But this person is in a position where, because they've committed a crime, even petty crime, not petty crime that is more than the one that will make sure that your fingers are taken, what we call fingers by the DCI. Once those fingers are there, your good conduct is as good as can't be used. Because it used to be relied to by the SACCOs and companies to enable you to get a license from PSV because of self-regulation. The portal is given to NTSA, is given by NTSA to the companies. Okay, so you find there are so many Kenyans out there who cannot get a PSV because of prior conviction.
Okay.
Yet this person, where it comes to access to justice, might have, number one, been released. Yet the fingerprints are there. You might have gone through the court process, and the court says that you're not guilty. You're not guilty. Yet your fingerprints are there. Number two, you might have turned into a state witness, where the state withdraws the charges, and then you on their side, right? But your fingers are still there because of the process. Maybe it was a serious crime, carjacking or whatever. You went through, and then the police said, okay, fine, you turn into a state witness, then we drop all charges. Your fingerprints are still there. So along the line, or you must have even served your term. What about the one in Boston schools, for example? The underage, for example. So you get that this person could not, or they were unable to get their PSVs licenses because of the good conduct issue, and that is something now we followed up with NTSA. Courts are you normally move to court as a judicial body. We wait for you to bring your matters, but we also try to be proactive. So when we talked to those, we got a series of meetings, and we filtered through some of the issues, the cases, and then some cases were brought to court. So we came to an arrangement with NTSA that as much as a good conduct is important when someone wants to get a PSV license because of course the criminality, what about such kind of issue? Why don't you first delink your system with the PSV and the good conduct? Then we go to case by case. And of course, when it comes to access to justice, the worst thing, or one of the major impediments is public awareness. People don't know of such bodies as ours. And that is why I think I'm very appreciative for this opportunity to be here. So that at least now people know that if you have any form of issue against these gigantas or this very big body or this regulator called NTSA, you can always come to us. We are at the judiciary. We have you can file virtually, and we encourage virtual filing. We can at times, the board decides on its own volition to go to where the client is. Because of also the nature of our clients, makangas, drivers, others will not have the devices to log in. Because at times we want them to log in. Others don't have lawyers, for example. That's also a problem. So we also encourage them, just file your case. There it is.
So essentially you've answered the question that I asked, that in terms of where does justice come in. So what are some of the cases that are actually brought to the board? For us to understand, you know, normally you say, okay, so if you have an issue against NTSA, for example, then come to the board. But what are some of the issues that people would ordinarily come to the board with for us to get a broader understanding?
Missing classes, for example. You find that you've migrated from the old driving license. It had what you call BCE and maybe A. Once you want to take the smart license, you're told that the one that appears maybe is just D1. Then when you ask, how come I cannot, I had BCE, if you relate to the new one, it should maybe be D2, C1 or something like that. But when you look at the new license, the smart one, it is only one class. And that one class is maybe a D1. Yet D1 is equivalent to the C. In driving, in the driving license, BCE allows you to drive up to trucks, yes? But now you're given a D1. D1, maybe you can only drive a small car. When you go to NTSA, they tell you maybe these records cannot be found. We can only find this one. Go bring a receipt. You know, for example, Muga, if you're told to bring a receipt from KRA, remember the former KRA where we used to pick the license? Just bring a receipt as evidence that you had the BCE. And maybe you're matatu driver or a truck driver, because we've gotten those ones, a lot of those. Where are you getting those receipts? Then the other option, if you can't get the receipt, go back to school. Yes, that we have many of those cases.
But surely there's a duplicate.
Not only a duplicate, there is the original hard copy license that you have.
Now that is where the court comes in, because two things. The board will ask you, when you bring the case to us, the board will tell you, give us the physical license. You've even presented the physical license to NTSA. You have it. You know, you give, take, or you just go and drop this and pick this, or you have the two of them. Then you'll tell them, I had this BC and these are genuine stamps. They'll tell you, no, I mean, we don't know. It could have been a fake
and it
license.
is their stamp and it's in green.
That's a point. So you can come to once you come to the board will ask, okay, let's see the old license, yes. The new one, fine. Number 2, do you have any proof, for example, that you've, for example, driven trucks or buses? There are many. An appointment letter, for example, there is the ones that the annual, what are they called? The annual renewals. They are also there. That is proof enough. So many people, because they do not know that they can come to T-Lab, they end up, they give up to school or they go back to school, which is also an expensive venture.
But remember also, Daktari, you can get the license because that is what you got the license for.
Yes.
It doesn't mean you've been driving trucks all your life.
Yes.
But you did get tested with a truck.
Exactly.
Because when you get tested on that, once you get in that class, all other lower classes, you are passed on. That is how it worked. Now, if there's a change and you haven't been informed, how are you supposed to know?
Actually, the law says that it should not be, if the government or if a body changes the system to a newer one, it should not be at the disadvantage of their appellant or the client or the citizen. So if NTSA thinks that this is a better option, a smart license is a better one than the old one, it is their decision. Okay, it's an administrative decision or maybe a legal decision, but why should it be at your disadvantage where you're being told, prove that you went to a driving school?
No. No. As we have this discussion, one thing that is glaring here is the fact that there is no data depository where all this information is at. Because now here we're talking about the system that does not communicate with each other. Now you start from the matter to do with the police and good conduct. Now that system, when someone has turned and they're clean, that means in the system it should be able to indicate that they are free, hence delinking their fingerprints from the criminal record. And then again, you come to NTSA and the classes and whatnot. There is clear indication that data is not there. To fix this is to digitize it and have it in the system. So as a court or as a body that deals with such matters, what is the conversation in making sure that this issue is handled? Because unless we handle these, you will keep on having
many of them.
Yes,
I agree. And after the Naivasha issue, where I found these many numbers, that's just a microcosm.
Yes.
If, for example, you go to a stage and 20 people have this issue, you can imagine, I also went to Nyahururu, the same. You can imagine the number of Kenyans who will have similar issues where they cannot get a PSV license because they don't have good conduct. And I know right now, many also don't know that. So what I did is I wrote to the DCI then, and I asked them a series of questions. One of them being when, at what stage, do our fingerprints clean or
off the system?
Yes, off the system. And I wanted a definite answer, maybe 10, 20, 30 years. Then number two, what happens when someone who had served his term or who had been let go? Because if you are let go, let's say because you stand into a state witness or you are innocent, your situation should be as it was, ab initio. Then they told us, I remember they told me there's no policy on that, on some of the issues, because I raised a couple of issues. Then number two of importance, they say that they are just a repository. They are just a library, okay? A library meaning that if records are brought, they are kept. That is what they are, basically. They just keep that record. So when you go to get your fingerprints, it basically means if you've not committed a crime, your records are not there. That's what having a good conduct means.
Yeah.
Yes, if you go, I want a good conduct. They just run through the system, crimes that have been committed and someone who has been jailed, their records are not here.
Okay.
What if you want them removed? You see now that is where at times there's an issue. And at times they say that take the court ruling judgments that let you out, take it to the DCI. But is that the policy? Because we'd also want to know that.
Is there a policy concerning that? Because I imagine that there are a number of people. I mean, look, when we talk about going to court over whatever it may be, and your details are now in the system. If you've paid, whether that meant being in prison for a while or whatever the case may be, you're done with that. Essentially, retribution has been done, reformation at some point, you've served your time, rehabilitation, whatever level has been achieved, you've served your time. So now something that you might go into later, business, but that precludes you from doing the business. And if you've served your time, did they say that there is then a policy on when your record would be wiped clean?
That's a conversation I think that should be pushed forward, because on the same line, you're also asking yourself if you served your time and your good conduct, must it indicate at the back that there is something that is outstanding? Because that is what it says, outstanding.
And yet you've served your time.
You've served your time. So that is what the board grappled with. And any matter that came to us, as long as you showed that you served, number one, you served your time, meaning that and you've been clean for at least a year, then that's okay. Because I remember there's a matter we had at the Kirinyaga Law Court. This matatu driver had an altercation with the wife at night. I think normal manenos. At night, and one thing led to another. Akamchuna, pinched. That's what he told us in court. So I'm not. He just pinched.
How did the wife interpret this pinch?
Yes, now that's what I'm going to. So he just pinched the wife. We have to be very gender sensitive. So pinched the wife, and then the guy. They slept angry at each other. In the morning, the guy went kawaida 5 a.m. Went to work. During the day, the wife went to a police station. Went to a police station. The guy is in a registered circle. Went to a police station, said that I was assaulted by my husband. That is an assault case. When it's assault, the guy was arrested, I think, in the evening when he came from work, slept in the police station. The next day, parents came, people talked. But you see, he slept in the police. He slept in the police station, was processed, and taken to court. fingerprints, because it's an assault case, yes? And police will always go with whatever has been booked. When, I think before he was convicted, they decided to withdraw. You know how it goes. I think he was in remand for like 1 month or something like that. Because it's an assault case, and you know it will take time because there are hearings and such. Within that period, they said, okay, fine, let the parents talk. They talked, wakaskizana. Went and said ADR, our judiciary allows ADR in some instances, especially when it's mostly civil. But if the witness says that or goes to the state prosecutor and tells him 1, 2, 3, 4 things, then it's withdrawn. So the case was withdrawn. So that was that.
Okay.
This guy went back to work. His license was, I think, the PSV was valid. But when he came to renew after about 4 months, because it was 8 months old, when he came to renew the PSV with his SACCO, because SACCOs are given the portal, he was told that you can be given a PSV.
Why?
He asked why. He said, because you do not have your good conduct. Okay, let me go get the good conduct. When he came with the good conduct, he showed that you have an outstanding remark. You see, yet this case did not proceed more than that.
So who's to make sure that is clear? And that's the thing, I guess, here. Who's to make sure that is cleared? Because if it's lodged there, and then for whatever reason thereafter, the case has been, either withdrawn or you've served your time, and that particular issue has been essentially cleared up, who's to make sure then that is clear? And I think that's where I am. Because it stops so many other things down the line from happening.
That's a very good question. And one, I think what you're asking is, should it be automatic that now he's served his time, now it's clear? Because now, like this driver's situation, it's like that crime was not committed.
Exactly.
Because they went, Skizana, it was a domestic tussle or whatever it was.
Or is it the responsibility of the person who made the complaint to go back and say, well, look, we're no longer doing this anymore, so can we just, get it expunged, cleared, whatever?
Or is it the responsibility of the court that because even ADR is a judicial process and the details are resolved with them. So is it the court to communicate with the DCI from outstanding to resolved? Because it seems like all these institutions are not communicating together.
There's a body that does NCAJ that brings all players. We can always propose to them. But I think in matters of policy, there's that gap. That asks what happens at such an instance where this person committed a crime or was innocent. Must he take his records to DCI? Because now that's another process now. Do you take it? How much do you pay? It should be clear. You should pay 1, 2, 3, 4, 5
for this,
and then it is removed. Or is it automatic? You've been released under cap 1, 2, whatever. With this, go have your records cleared.
Okay.
Yes. Because yes, we have other clients I didn't mention.
I want us to go into some of those and what they would be, but let's take a break at this point and then come back, because it is so broad, and what people can or cannot do, or what they should or shouldn't do, then comes into play here. Dr. Andrew Kimani is the CEO and Secretary of the Transport Licensing Board, and we're looking at the role of the board in enhancing access to justice. That's our Justice Thursday conversation for today. It's 26 minutes to 8. We'll be back after this.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
Cloudy conditions at 16 in Nairobi, and the drizzle is still there in some parts of the city. It's cloudy at 14 into Nakuru, and cloudy conditions at 15 in Nyeri. Cloudy at 14 in Eldoret, and at 27 it'll be sunny for most parts of the day in Mombasa, and at 27 it's sunny in Malindi as well. 20 and partly cloudy in Kisumu, while in Kakamega it's 17 and cloudy, and we'll see highs of 26. Kampala is raining at 19 with highs of 25, while Dar es Salaam is sunny at 25. We'll see highs of 32. Johannesburg at 13 is cloudy with highs of 23, while Mogadishu at 28 is sunny, and Addis Ababa at 15 cloudy. This morning it's 28 and cloudy in Lagos, with partly cloudy conditions at 24 in Kinshasa.
Sugar and spice and everything nice.
Spice up your life.
All right, so traffic on the Thika Superhighway this morning coming in from Garden City through towards Muranga Road, and that moves a little bit slowly, but it's moving. It's a standstill in some parts, but we'll be able to get some fluid movement through Kangunda Road, very busy, as well as the Eastern Bypass. Inbound traffic is bumper to bumper through towards the Cabanas interchange, so that's where most of the busyness is this morning. A little bit of traffic on Gong Road, and take a quick look at Magadi Road, where traffic is now starting to form, and we're seeing traffic coming in from Karen through towards Gong Road and then out into the city. We are in traffic hour. Let's see what happens as we traverse it this morning. Keep your wits about. Talk to us. Keep things moving. SpiceFM KE on X. Hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Our Justice Thursday conversation this morning is with Dr. Andrew Kimani, who is the CEO, Secretary of the Transport Licensing Appeals Board. So, Dr. Kimani, when it is clear that I can't get one of the licenses that I need to operate PSV because of one reason or the other. But we're saying mostly it has to do with conduct issues, or it mostly has to do with previous issues that involve the law. Is that what we're saying? Or under which other circumstances would I be denied a license that would require me to then come before the board to appeal?
There are various... apart from conduct, what the NTSA has done is that it has ensured that SACCOs and companies are able to self-regulate. Mm-hmm. They've given them the portal, so to speak. They can be able to regulate themselves. You know Muga best, and you have a company, you have a minimum maybe of 30 vehicles as it's allowed by the law. You have a minimum of 30 drivers, 30 conductors, and at no time should it go below that. At times it's allowed because of maybe inspection. But then you find a situation where, because it has gone down, then NTSA will tell you that, no, we are going to suspend your license for the whole route. That happens. Okay, conduct issues. I know there have been various things that have been going on with some SACCOs, where you get, we had a case like 3 years ago of a Rongai SACCO, where one matatu caused death by reckless driving, and then NTSA immediately suspended the whole SACCO because there was a public outcry. The SACCO, I remember, moved to us on a certificate of urgency, which is allowed, and we had to make a determination because, this is an investment. Yes, someone has been killed by matatu, this matatu, but they've moved on a certificate of urgency, and they are telling us, look, this specific matatu, we had already written to its owner, number one. We had already reported it to NTSA more than once for everyone for the mistake of one, though there's collective responsibility. So because of that non-compliance, we said no. I mean, this one is the one that... other issues, route extension, at times you find that there's a matatu, for example, that there's a SACCO that wants to move from Rongai to Nairobi, or from Westlands to, let's say, Kitengela. Okay. And then we keep asking, no, it will be denied through their own procedures or administrative action. We keep asking ourselves, when you're having a case discussions, one, has the government said that we won't...
Part of Kenya.
Leave alone that, you want you have a route, you have a pre-existing route, yes. Maybe from Thika to Nairobi. But now you want Thika, Nairobi, Rongai.
Yes.
Or Thika, Nairobi, let's say, Machakos. Then you're told no. Then when you ask, Sijui, the vehicles are many, we ask them, but vehicles are still coming from Mombasa, number one. Number two, is the road carrying capacity of the government, has it been exhausted? So you see, there are so many things. When you try to sit down as a court, when we try and look at them, we say that this does not make sense. Legally, it's not right. If NTSA feels that this route, it cannot give any more licenses, let it be made clear. And legally, let them prove it.
Yeah.
Issues of delayed registration of a new SACCO,
close portal without notice. At times, they just close the portal. You want to go and update details of your driver, the portal is closed.
Why?
No reason is given. And you see, that is also administrative. We also rely on the Administrative Act of 2015. Yeah, you get so many reasons at times when they come to us. Until now, you tell yourself, okay, this one is not right.
Right.
So we summon NTSA, we listen to all parties, and then we are very expeditious. We follow the social transformation through access to justice, the pillar of and the vision of the Chief Justice. So we try to be as fast as possible than the traditional courts, because we also want to expand these matters as soon as.
So on average, how long does it take to adjudicate?
We've given ourselves not more than 180 days, not more than. Why at times we give ourselves that? Because some of our matters will have advocates. And, advocates will want, maybe there's a preliminary objection, maybe there are facts that they need cleared, maybe there's also something else that has come into play. And matters that have advocates at times will, you have to be heard. But others are rather straightforward. We have a physical case in Voi, where border drivers, their licenses were denied. They were not given licenses, yet they've gone to a driving school. When you ask NTSA, we can't see those records. Let them prove that they went to a driving school. And this is a border driver.
And yet they have a license?
Yes. Yes, they've gone to pick the new license. Yes. We can't see those records. Another one in Kisumu, where we had CDF had paid, CDF had paid for about 20 drivers, the way they pay for drivers. Yes. Then they go to the driving school. It reaches that level, NTSA cannot give them licenses. The issues are various, and at times that is why the board, in its wisdom, tries to be as expeditious as possible. We want to dispense with these matters, and under the judiciary, we also have the time limits. We are measured on how fast you dispense a matter.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So. TILAC as a body goes into ensuring as well that laws are actually adhered to, because you're working in an ecosystem. You're part of the justice system, and then you have the NTSA and Matatus, border borders, and everybody involved. Yes. So what is your role in ensuring that whilst there are appeals that will be brought to you, that you're equally ensuring that those bringing the appeals equally just play by the rules?
What courts do, at times they are prescriptive in the kind of rulings we make. You cannot, at times, why we say this decision is jurisprudential, or this decision goes to cure something. Yes. At times they are decisions that you make hoping that it will bring a conversation like what you're talking about.
Yes.
Like this issue of the bus bodybuilders, motor vehicle manufacturers, is something that it had to be brought to our attention, because we have a matter, but okay, it is active in court, so it will be sub-judicial for me to talk about it. The one for the Ubers and Bolts, where the board, in its wisdom, had given a fine to one of the digital online operators, but they appealed at a higher court. So you get that the board will act within the law. We only act with the facts we have, but we also alive to the situation as it is.
Yes.
Okay. So we do try to do that. We try to legally give some cure.
How exactly are these public transport or matatu circles formed? What is the understanding, and what is the basis, and what exactly is required of one before they can become a member of a circle?
Okay, though that's a purview of NTSA, but when the Mishuki rules came, before that anyone could own a matatu.
And you could go anywhere.
You could go anywhere. It was chaos. But with the Mishuki rules, NTSA, what was formerly called the Transport Licensing Board, turns into NTSA, they came up with a checklist where, number one, you have to be registered. Registration lazima. The government has to know who you are. You remember that time there are people who did not even have PIN.
Yes.
You had to have a KRA PIN. Yes, you had to have a KRA PIN. You had to have an ID. But if it's a company, the same way you do with a CR12 company, these are the list of directors. This is what they do. That has to be there. Then also, there's a minimum number of vehicles you can have on the road. Once you have that, then there are things like you have to have in the regulations, you have to maybe to have a conduct, what we call a stage manager. You have to have an office. You have a physical office, so that if someone has a complaint, can't go and report.
those are the basic ones. Then now you apply to NTSA and tell them, according to the checklist, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things, and I want you to give me a circle. There's that question you've brought up. We had a court case, and there's something called legitimate expectation. In an easier way, if you're with someone, you've dated someone for a while, and you've promised them marriage, and then along the way you find someone better. You know, it happens to us. It happens. So, and then you marry the other person. You marry the other person. I think
you began in solidarity.
Yes. So she waited for you until you finished high school and university, and you got your job, and then you don't marry her. I think she can accuse you of failure,
right?
The legitimate expectations, because she was legitimately expecting you to marry her. So, when it comes to SACCO, we've had situations where you go to NTSA. Muga wants to start a company, wants to be an operator, PSV operator. Then you're given a checklist. These, plus have 30 matatus, for example. You have 31. You have Tanimingi. Then with all this, and at times you're even taking from your friends, you're taking loans, and then you're panel beating them, unachomelea hapa na pale, and then you want them on the road. Now you tell them, I have everything. You go to them. Then they tell you, no, we won't give you the license. Administratively, I don't know, a reason maybe comes up or whatever. That is failure. That is, you had legitimate expectation that if I have all these, I can be able to get these, because you had promised me. You had told me, I came to you guys and you told me I must have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I've gotten all of them.
Yes. So at times that happens. So when there's that legitimate expectation or any other that falls under that, it comes to us. Yes.
See, why I asked this question, I remember the matter of motorcycle riders and what happened to a young lady on Wangari Maathai Way, and how that seemed to have transformed that particular industry into something a little more organized. That's why I asked about the SACCOs. So anyone who is in that transport business must belong to a SACCO.
Yes, or a company,
And they must be registered there.
Yes.
So that when you look for a vehicle, there will be a place where they are domiciled.
Yes.
So you know exactly where to take complaint.
Yes.
And you will also know who the owner is. All the details will be there.
True.
Okay. Now, ever since the body that you had started, have you seen a reduction in the cases that involve that sector, or have you seen an increase?
In the matatu industry, because it's one of the ones that we deal with, the PSV, SACCOs and company, there's actually a reduction in the number of cases that we get from there because of the organization that they have. And unless it's a very major one, that's when they'll come to us. Possibly the whole route company has been suspended. Like what happened with the Maina case, where there was an accident and then the NTSA suspended it. Unless it's such kind of a situation. Okay, it's not always that we are the decisions NTSA has made that we go against. At times we also tell them that you are right on these decisions.
Right.
Yeah. So at times we do that. So not always that they lose. We try to be as factual as possible.
So does the board step in on matters, or does it wait for matters to be brought to the board? And I'm going to use the example of what happened a couple of weeks ago. I mean, it was a horrible situation where in a public service vehicle, a matatu, and it's in the open, so we can talk about it, the Super Metro, where an individual was thrown out of the vehicle because they couldn't pay the 30 shillings fee. That went into court, and so many things have happened as a result of that. Horrible case. Does the board step in on matters like this, or does somebody have to sit up and say, okay, well, we know it went to court, but should it go beyond that, whereby you have an entire, company censured for this kind of thing? And if that were to be the case, would somebody then come in as a private citizen, for example, and raise the issue at the level of the Transport Licensing Board?
That was a rather unfortunate incident. I didn't quite feel proud at that moment because I also think that people will have stood up. The people in the matatus, I know people are stressed.
Yes.
But at least they will have stood up and either volunteered to pay the 30 shillings or at least told the matatu driver to slow down for the passenger to walk, to alight in a good way. We don't always have to be quiet when these things are happening. Shout, this very little people can do when there is a multitude, when there are numbers, when people are talking. One person cannot possibly drown all those voices. On the question you've asked, we try, NTSA is the regulator. By law, we are product of NTSA. We are their appeals. We are the ones that check on the excesses, the administrative excesses. So we, just like other courts, unless and until you move the court, it at times become difficult for us to get into such issues. Now you take someone like you. If you file, I'll give you our details. If you want to file, you can file right now. And then now you'll be telling NTSA, I don't know, possibly telling them, we want that license suspended until maybe compliance checks are done. That is one way. The law allows anyone, even if not directly aggrieved by the decision, a third party can file. Okay, as a matter of interest, you can file and say that person was given a license. I want it suspended. Why? Because of 1, 2, and you're not directly involved through party A. I think we've made that decision before. There's also one decision that was made a few years ago on removal of number plates. I remember, but it was driven by a party where someone came to the board. I think it was in Naivasha and said that NTSA has removed my number plates. Then his reasoning was, why should they remove my number plates? Yet they are the ones who also license me. And the board agreed with him. It is actually double jeopardy. You are licensing someone, you're giving them the PSV. You can as well remove the license from the PSV. You can take the driving license, you can take the PSV, you can take the inspection sticker. Then why also remove the number plate? Because now getting the process, he was complaining that the process of getting back the number plate is tedious and they cannot even be found.
I actually don't understand. Why did you take the number plate? I mean, what had happened?
Okay, when I asked, I was told that at least it will make them, some of those vehicles are not well inspected. But then I asked them, you are the ones who inspect. If the inspection sticker is there, or it forces that vehicle to go back to inspection. But I told them it will not be at the discomfort of members of the public because they are employers.
That logic is warped.
Yes. Yeah. But you see now, even if I walk or when you're driving and then I come upon NTSA removing number plates, there's very little I can do because that matter has not been brought to the attention of the board. And the board will, if the matter is brought to the attention of the board will sit, look at the facts in law and maybe precedents which has been established before and then make a decision. Yes.
That falls in my mind the category of abuse of power.
Yes.
Because it's
bordering on harassment.
I mean, it's like this case we had where the city county of Nairobi had a problem with Kenya Power. Same thing. Someone decides, okay, let's have a pissing contest. Someone goes and, I mean, how?
Who is a loser in the long run?
A matter that could have been discussed and an agreement arrived at. But when we look at the transport sector in the country and the service that they provide, what would you say are the areas where we could still make improvements?
The boda sector, it's a growing industry. It's very, very important. And, transport being one of the biggest contributors to GDP, I think right now 300, 400 billion is something we cannot ignore. I think, and this is just me talking, if we are more robust, especially as members of the public, if we are more keen on exactly what is ailing us at this moment in time, that's what we should be asking ourselves. Is it, or do we need more PSVs, or what other form of travel do we need? Do we need to be regulated more? Do we know what our rights are? If we can be able to answer some of those questions, must all of us use vehicles coming to town, for example? when accidents happen, the board has limited jurisdiction on NTSA. We cannot look at other matters outside the purview of NTSA. You can only bring the ones that are in the NTSA. At times we get that someone wants to sue another body, but they go through NTSA, want to sue the police or something like that. But then ours is only limited to NTSA. We are trying to see how we can expand our mandate on issues that involve road transport, because we are the only tribunal that deals with that. We also encourage ADR a lot. We, if you have a problem with this, with law and NTSA is in the middle, we try and see. The others, and NTSA will say, okay, fine, your license, let us give him Class A. He came to court, and then when you go to when now they come before the bench, they say sisi tumeskizana, which we also encourage a lot. It saves time and also those man hours. So we also encourage ADR, but the board is limited to that mandate of NTSA. Yes. Yes.
Okay. So I mean, winding down on this, but how then are appeals brought before the board, brought before the tribunal? How do people come and make the complaints?
Okay, we have various ways, but one of the easiest that we've got, we had a judiciary open day, and we set up our desk for the board. We set our desk at tea room, because we believe that is where a majority of our clients are. And we got inquiries from tea room where people are saying that we did not know. The chief registrar of the judiciary actually came to our stand at tea room, and she interacted with members of the public from Tatu Circles, from Nyeri, Meru, remember Okena. We gave them these bands and stickers for the vehicles. I'm sorry I didn't bring enough. I'll make sure I send them today by courier. They're important I always tell my friends when they have these bands, when you're arrested on other issues, don't call me or don't call the office.
What do you mean?
Yes, don't call
What's
the office.
What's the benefit of knowing What's the benefit of knowing if he can't call you?
Someone will pick their phone and tell you, nimeshikwa na NTSA, ongea na yeye. And then I'm like, I don't even know what the issue is. Let the case continue. So we go directly to the ground.
Yeah.
We interact directly with people from the ground. We also have our number 0799 000 584. People also call in. People also walk in. Our offices are at Transcom House, second floor. So in case you have any issue with NTSA, any kind of issue, whether registration, whether licensing, whether administrative, also come to us, because we also use the Administrative Act, and basically that is where we live.
It's great to know, because I can assure you that a lot of people were not aware that they could actually do that.
They can.
So it's great to have these conversations, because then we spread that information and get that knowledge out there. And we want to thank you for being here with us this morning to at least start to talk about some of these things so that they can be out in the open and for people to know what kind of recourse that they do have. Dr. Andrew Kimani is the CEO Secretary of the Transport Licensing Board, and he's been here with us this morning in the hot seat of the Situation Room. Asante sana for being here.
It's my pleasure. You guys are very warm, and asante sana for the topical issues that you bring that are of concern to Kenyans.
Asante sana.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Good morning. This is the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga. President William Ruto will host some Mount Kenya MPs at State House today as a follow-up to last week's meeting by Deputy President Kithure Kindiki in preparation for their 7-day tour of the region. The extensive tour schedule for the end of this month, or perhaps early April, has already begun to raise political temperatures in the region that swept President Ruto to power in the 2022 race. The region has in the past 5 months turned hostile following Ruto's bitter fallout with former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. Former Prime Minister Raila Odinga has reiterated that he doesn't regret his partnership with President William Ruto, despite his critics saying he betrayed them. Speaking at an iftar party, Raila also said that he wouldn't form an alliance with former Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua as he couldn't be trusted.
Kuna wengine ambao wanawaambia sisi tumeingia pande nyingine, hiyo ni mzuri, lakini nasema bwana, jana wewe ulikuwa unasema sisi ni nyang'ao, leo wewe unasema sisi sasa leo tumekuwa malaika, tumebadilika, kutoka nyang'ao tulikuwa malaika namna gani? Kwa hivyo sisi wenyewe hatuwezi kudanganywa, tunajua pale tunataka kwenda. Naambia watu wetu wasimame imara, nina hakika tutafika, lakini hatutaki unafiki ya mtu ambaye anasema hapo wewe tumeweka mtego. Waswahili wasema mtego wa panya ushika waliomo na sio kwemo. Sasa wale ambao waliweka mtego ndio mtego wamewashika. Sisi tutaenda pamoja.
Raila also called on Kenyans to champion national unity and turn a blind eye to leaders who preach tribal politics.
Najua mambo tumekuwa naye pande atakufanya uchaguzi, tuko na shida. Hatujafika kile kiwango ambayo unafanya uchaguzi ile ambayo inaitwa free and fair. Lakini wakati itafika. Kwa hivyo mpaka sisi zote tu sacrifice. Tumefika pale tuko hapa, sio mahali ambayo tungependa tuwe hapa. Lakini nchi mpaka endelee mbele. Sababu zingine tunaweza kusema tushikiliane hapa na pale, tuvuke hapa tungeenda pale nyingine. Tuna hakika ya kwamba tutafika pale tunataka kwenda. Ni sababu mimi naambia watu wetu tusimame pamoja, tukae pamoja. Hatua ambayo tumechukua tunayajua.
Ward representatives are now pushing for increased salaries, insisting that the SRC should implement the proposal. Speaking on the last day of the 5th Conference of County Representatives, they say they also vowed to push for the implementation of the Ward Development Fund and remove the control of ward-level spending from the county executive governments.
You find MCAs, 4 MCAs, 5 MCAs in one car, and you're here telling us about oversight. How do you oversight people who are killing you?
MC anakula mshahara shilingi 80,000. Aingiani kabisa. Wabunge pia wa counties wapewe mshahara tu karibu na ya governor. Governor anakula mshahara 1560 na bara hajaweka marupurupu.
Nikiona mishahara yetu ni mishahara duni sana. Na ukifungua geti yako kama mwakilishi wadi, wananchi wako pale kila siku. Huwezi funga ile gate. Na tukikuja hapa kulia malilio yetu yasikizwe haswa na kafu. Hakuna jambo ambalo linakuja.
Members of parliament are getting 35%.
We are not asking for favors.
According to a government gazette notice dated 9th 2023 of August, the MCAs have been receiving a salary of 92,689 shillings and various allowances that bring the total amount to 154,481 shillings.
They don't fear when we oversight them because we have nothing we can do. We just call them, ask them questions, but at the end of the day, they are looking at our salaries and laughing at us.
That's the news wire. I'm Lea Ubaga.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
All right, so let's see what traffic looks like at after 8 o'clock once we've stepped into traffic hour. And a little bit of that still coming off of Magadi Road and heading out towards Langata Road. So that's busy. The Thika Superhighway, still some traffic as you come in from that Allsops Junction. And before that on around Garden City, there is some traffic then coming in from United Nations Avenue out onto Limuru Road. So that's busy as well. Lower Kabete going towards Spring Valley is also very busy as it is on Waiakue. Today, Kangunda Road, some traffic as well. Outer Ring is busy as it is on the Eastern Bypass. So we are in traffic hour and it's still slippery in some parts with the rain coming in. We're going to keep an eye on all of it all and talk to us on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
At 6 minutes after 8 o'clock, good morning. Our audience on KTN, good morning. And also continue streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and on X this morning. teeth sensitivity, smile, all of this. Think about when you bite into some ice cream sometimes and you do like that, or you tasted something really tangy and you're like, oh my goodness, what is that all about? Now imagine if you could have all your food, hot, cold, whatever, without that. But you don't have to imagine it anymore, because Sensodyne says, you know what, we can actually help you out. Sensodyne, the toothpaste, talking toothpaste to you today, and you don't have to worry about tooth sensitivity anymore, because it is the #1 brand recommended by dentists. Sensodyne says we deal with that, and World Oral Health Care Day is coming up, and because of that, Sensodyne also says, how about you get to that place where you can have your favorite foods, hot or cold, without having to worry about that sensitivity any longer. Step into your outlets of Chandarana, of Naivas, of Quickmart, and of Carrefour, and get 50% off on select Sensodyne products from today until the 23rd of March, as we say that a happy mouth is a happy mind, and you can get into enjoying that again with Sensodyne. And that forms part of our conversation that we will be having this hour, even as we get into the second hour of Kenya's biggest conversation. And our guest is already seated in this hot seat today, and we'll be talking about Beyond the Smile, how oral health impacts the body and mind. If you didn't think it, now we're going to get into it. What's happening in here can affect what happens in here, right? Dr. Nsesia Mwende is an orthodontic and aesthetic dentist, and she's in the hot seat this morning. Dr. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Nsesia.
Yes.
Yes. All right. I've never seen a dentist without a perfect smile. I just thought about it now.
Thank you so much.
I haven't ever seen a dentist that smile is not tip-top. I guess you take care of yourself before you do everybody else. It's good to have you here this morning. Karibu Sana.
Thank you so much.
So as you get into it today, CT goes, you may not have heard this, but you know, I've got the tea. CT goes to a different African continent every week. You can then imagine for yourself later how he does that. Yes. But then he comes back every week with a proverb, a number of proverbs from this particular country, and then he shares one with us every day.
Okay.
So he's going to share it with us today, and we'd like you to give us your interpretation of it and what you would think of it.
Perfect.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Okay.
Our proverbs for the whole of this week are from the Republic of the Sudan, Africa's third largest country, Africa's third largest producer of gold.
Oh.
Thinking of gold teeth.
For sure, for sure.
The proverb: better your leerbob than people's dates. Now, this is a complicated proverb, so let me just explain.
Okay.
Leerbob is actually a herbal concoction that was used in ancient Persia for a wide range of things. I mind this wide range of things was male infertility.
Interesting.
That's what they said it did. Okay.
That's what they said it did.
Yes, that's what they said it did. So better that than people's dates. We all know what dates are. Okay?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So what do you think this proverb is saying?
Wow.
You can't be wrong, by the way. Your interpretation is precisely that, your interpretation. So let me rephrase it saying, better your own herbal concoction than other people's dates.
I think it simply means it's better to be involved in something that you already know about than, new information. They always say, like, better the devil,
And you put it so well.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So, every time we think about some health and we think about things that we need to do as concerns our teeth and oral health and all of that, it doesn't usually go beyond brushing your teeth and making sure that everything is okay there and then you're done. But here we are this morning having a conversation about how oral health can and would affect your mental space.
Yes.
And how it can actually promote good mental health.
Yes.
And so that's some of the conversation that we're getting into this morning. So I want to thank you again for being here.
Thank you too.
But even as we do, Dr. What does can you tell us first of all the difference between an orthodontist and just a dentist.
Yes.
Everybody who does anything in here.
Yeah.
And what an aesthetic
aesthetic dentist.
Yes.
Okay. So an orthodontist is keen on how your teeth look like in terms of alignment. We want to make sure that your teeth are very straight. They are not crooked, and this way you're able to brush better and also improve on your oral health. I don't know if you've seen people whose teeth are, you could see like some Kenyans ziko juu kidogo. You find that some teeth ziko stuck inside, and in such a scenario you're not able to take care of your teeth better. So an orthodontist comes in and makes sure your teeth are straight.
Okay.
That way you're able to eat better, you're able to brush better, and you're able to smile better. An aesthetic dentist also plays a big role when it comes to, now aesthetics is more about appearance. Are the teeth well aligned? Are the teeth bright? When you smile, do you like it? So it's a matter of trying to make sure that your teeth look better. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So when we think about that, how you look, but then how you actually use your teeth, what are some of the things that we need to be watching out for? We talk about, you bite into something hot, you take a bite of something cold, you're not able to crush ice or whatever it is, and City's looking at me like, who wants to crush ice? Some people actually do. And then you're really sensitive about that. What does that have to do with what's going on in here? Because then affects whether you're able to take anything hot, whether you're able to take anything cold, all the time.
So teeth sensitivity means that a part of your tooth is exposed. The tooth is made of something, the outer part of the tooth is called enamel. The layer just below that is called dentin. So enamel is non-living, and dentin is part of it is living.
Okay.
So when you're experiencing sensitivity, it means your enamel is exposed, and so is your dentin. So that time when you're experiencing sensitivity, it could be maybe you have a cavity, some part of your tooth is exposed, maybe you have gum recession, or maybe you've been feeding on foodstuffs that erode your enamel, mostly acidic foods, fruits that have citric acid in them, like lemon, and also sodas. Those kind of foodstuffs tend to wear part of your enamel. So those are the things that you're looking at when you have tooth sensitivity. Yes.
And then we're told that there are things that we can do, like if you brush my teeth with Sensodyne. It's recommended by dentists, but then I can brush my teeth with that often, and then it reduces my tooth sensitivity.
Yes.
How is that?
It's because most of these toothpaste contain something we call stannous fluoride. Now, fluoride comes in and blocks those tiny pores in your tooth. So, for example, you're taking a lot of lemon and your enamel is washed out. Now, fluoride comes in and blocks that outer part of your tooth. So, your sensitivity tends to go down. But in the event that you have a cavity, we recommend you see the dentist first so that the cavity is treated and then it doesn't progress.
What's a cavity?
A cavity is a hole in your tooth. Yes, it starts as a tiny pore, and then now it just keeps progressing with time, especially if it's not attended to by the dentist.
Does it just come on its own, or does the tooth owner have something to do with it being there?
I like that question because most people do not know the process of a cavity formation. So it starts with you not brushing your teeth properly. So you go to sleep without brushing, you wake up, you don't brush. So in that scenario, you have food in your mouth and there is normal bacteria in your mouth. You have more than 500 species of bacteria in your mouth. Yes, 500. Yes, between
as you are now, like this now.
Yes, there's bacteria in your mouth.
Everybody's mouth has 500 bacteria.
Yes, everybody's mouth.
Goodness.
So this bacteria now works on the food. So your food that is trapped in your mouth for days. So the bacteria act on that food, and then it produces an acid we call lactic acid. That time, your pH has gone down in your mouth.
pH is what?
It's just either the acidity or alkalinity of your mouth. So in this scenario, your mouth is very acidic. And what does acid do? It leaches away, or it washes away the enamel. And then now your tooth gets exposed. Then with time, this cavity just continues growing. Yes.
But we find that there are those who say, why brush if I can just gargle some mouthwash and move?
Yeah. Okay.
So how integral is brushing, or I'm supposed to use all these at the same time?
Brushing is a very mechanical procedure. It's just the way you clean your body, just the same way you will clean your dishes at home. So you have to use motion, circular motion, to remove that, we call it plaque. You know, when you eat, you in the mouth you get a soft layer of food and bacteria that forms just around your gum area and also on your tooth. So you need to clean that out with brushing. So brushing is very mechanical. You can either use the manual toothbrush or rather the electric, but you have to clean that out.
It's not like you can't expect to pour a bucket of water over your body and expect to be clean.
You just can't pour your body. You just can't take your cup and splash water. You have to do the manual cleaning. So it's very mechanical and you have to clean that out.
You say it's mechanical and it has to go in a circular motion.
Yes,
Why
in a circular
Because they used to up, down, side.
So in this case, when you look at your teeth closely, you will see the gum. The gum, it hugs the tooth in like a semicircle. It's a semicircle, You will notice that pattern. So that is the natural anatomy of the gum. Any other movement will disrupt that. So if you do horizontal, you're cutting that gum. If you do up and down, you're pushing that gum down. So you end up with recession, and also sometimes you cut part of the tooth. This is very common. We see it very common, especially for the elderly people, because it's something that takes time to
I can
fall.
see you. I can see you. When you're looking at me, I can see you.
So the motion has to be circular. Please remember, it has to be a small circular motion. We do not recommend any other motion.
Then there's the issue of brush. Okay?
Yes.
I understand brush because I also brush my shoes. That I get. What type of brush does one need to use?
And how long?
And how long before you decide to replace it?
Okay. So let me start with the duration. 3 months or less. Yes, 3 months.
Throw the
or
brush
less.
away, CT.
Yes.
That brush, go throw it away.
3 months.
Looks good.
Throw it away.
Throw it away.
It's not looking worn out.
When the
It is softer.
bristles just start facing in all directions, it's not working. So 3 months, because toothbrush tend to accumulate a lot of bacteria. Basically brushing and then you're keeping it. So there's a lot of
bacteria. This bacteria is everywhere.
Yes, it's everywhere. Even in your washrooms, it's everywhere. So you need to throw it away. Otherwise, you're going to accumulate a lot of bacteria, and then sometimes you end up with frequent infections that you can't notice. You have frequent tonsillitis, you have frequent coughs. So every 3 months, we recommend dispose your toothbrush and get a new one. Now, the choice of selection of the toothbrush, I think it's very dependent on what you're looking at. People with active gum disease, we recommend very soft and firm toothbrush. For the kawaida patient, or rather someone who doesn't have active gum disease, we'll also recommend something firm and also stronger. So it depends on what you're looking at. Because if you have active gum disease and you use a very firm or strong toothbrush, you're likely to cause bleeding gums. So it depends on what you're looking at. But either way, make sure that the toothbrush that you're selecting fits the size of your mouth. With small mouth, you don't like the big one, it's going to hurt you. So you just need to look at the needs of the patient, and then we advise further.
Active gum disease, what is that?
Active gum disease means that your gums are inflamed, your gums are bleeding, your gums are swollen, your gums are not healthy at all. And in that scenario, you find that most patients also tend to have what we call halitosis, or rather bad breath, especially in the mornings. So we recommend cleaning every 6 months, or rather once a year for people who are not able to do the biannual cleaning. We also recommend mouthwash, at least daily use of mouthwash that has active ingredients, so that you're able to treat that. Sometimes gum disease will also be very, very common in patients with other systemic conditions. For example, people who have diabetes, those people will tend to notice that their gums tend to have, they'll show signs of gum disease. Yes.
So, Doc, two things. What are some of the common conditions that patients present to you on a daily basis?
Yeah.
Plus, the most important aspect, how we store our brushes, because nowadays our bathrooms have toilets in them. How should we store our toothbrushes after use?
Let me start with the common conditions. Surprisingly, the oral health care seeking behavior has tremendously changed in this country. I think for the last 5 years, we used to see in between 2010 to 2017, we used to see lots of patients who are more of, doc, my tooth is painful, I want it removed, I am having sensitivity. But from the year 2020, there is a drastic shift. People are more keen on cosmetic procedures. Like, doc, I feel like my teeth are brown. I want them whitened. I feel like my teeth are not well arranged. What can we do? So there is, an uptick of cosmetic procedures recently, and that is something that we as dentists are proud of, because oral health care is very diverse. We are looking at your, how you smile. We're looking at how you're able to eat. We're looking at your overall well-being as a person. Are you confident enough to even go for interviews? Is your smile giving you that extra boost? Are you able to feed well? Because for kids, when kids are growing up, between the age of like 3 to 6, at that time they have milk teeth. And some parents will say, hizi tu ni meno za utotoni, we can remove. But then you forget that these are the same teeth that the child is using to feed on. And if that child is in pain, if that child is not able to enjoy their meals, definitely they are not going to grow up well. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. What are some of the most,
there was, sorry to cut you short, there was a question on storage.
Right.
Some people don't know how to store their toothbrushes. Yeah, so you find that they accumulate a lot of bacteria and stuff like that. So we are saying, if you, after using your toothbrush, make sure that you store it in a dry place, and also make sure it's just make sure it's upright, so that it doesn't stay moist for long. Because if it stays moist for long, then bacteria will enter, and then they'll just keep multiplying in that case. Stay it away from your toilet. You go to the toilet and then you flush and bacteria is all over. Where do they go? They land everywhere. Yeah. So make sure that when you're storing your toothbrush, it's in an open but dry area. Yeah. Some people also tend to lock it. There are some toothbrushes that are in a case. That's not recommended. Yeah, because it means that your toothbrush will be moist most of the day. You only use that case when you're traveling. Yeah, it's just basically for travel. At home, you can also have a storage for toothbrush. It comes as it's like a tiny box. Then you can just stock your toothbrush in there. That way, it's dry. It doesn't accumulate bacteria.
Okay. Everything you've said presupposes that the person who wants to have healthy teeth has money. Toothbrush, money. Mouthwash, money.
Flossing,
money.
Toothpaste,
money.
Good smile,
no money. How do you get people to take care of their teeth if they can't afford some of these things? What do they need to do to ensure that at least they maintain a minimum standard of teeth care?
That's a very interesting question, but I also like it so much because I feel like people tend to neglect oral health. You'll find that, let me ask her, what's your name?
Dennis.
Dennis.
Yes.
That's his name on Thursdays. Ask him what his name will be tomorrow.
Dennis will not forget his haircut.
Oh.
Yeah.
But he's gonna forget his teeth.
Allegedly.
Why do we have that kind of attitude when it comes to seeking oral health care? So I feel like oral health care is part of your self-care. You see, the way as ladies we work every month, we have our appointments booked for facials, we have our appointments booked for nails, but we do not have our appointments booked for the dentist. And you cannot say it's because we don't have money. It's just because we have neglected oral health care, and it's very important. So the issue to do with money, I feel like it's attitude and also the lack of awareness. Either way, I get to understand that it's not, I wouldn't say like it's easily affordable for every Kenyan, but with proper planning, because we will do cleaning twice a year. Ladies will do their nails every month, which is more expensive when you look at it that way. Which is more expensive, honestly.
Sure, the nails are more expensive.
I do not think oral health care is expensive. I just feel like oral health care is neglected and we do not talk about it enough.
My reference point here is a large population of citizens who live in the rural areas.
Yes.
Again, in terms of priorities, you are right.
Yes.
The teeth tend not to be a priority for many people.
Yes.
Till they fall out.
Yes, until they really fall out, and they tend to.
Yes.
Now, given what is available, again, my question is the alternatives.
Yeah.
I remember as a child,
Yes.
there were certain shrubs that we would, or certain trees that we would take a certain twig off, and that was used as a brush.
Yes. I grew up using that brush, and it worked just
it works.
Good enough, yes.
Yes.
It worked.
Yes.
That's why we're saying this thing is more of mechanical. Bora to there is that brush and that movement, then you're good to go.
Okay.
Yes.
How does oral health affect your overall health? You know, because we just think about it as your teeth, your tongue, and your mouth, and then you're done.
Yes.
We don't ever think of that it can affect something else. So how does it affect the rest of your health, Dr.
There's a very strong relationship between oral health and also your general body health. Look at it this way. The mouth is the entry of everything in your body. What you take, what you feed. So we are looking at, are you able to enjoy your meals at the end of the day? Are you able to psychologically, I don't know if I'm using the correct word, but does your smile give you confidence? There are some people that for sure, from what you've seen in our practices, like oral health has really, really affected their self-esteem. Kids who have been brought up in areas that have salty water, they have a condition called fluorosis. Their teeth are very brown. These kids can get bullied in school, and this can affect their whole self-esteem. We are looking at also things to do with gum disease. The way I've said, there's a very strong relationship between gum disease and diabetes. There's also a very strong relationship between your oral health and pregnancy. There are kids who have been, mothers who have delivered kids with low birth weights because of bacterial transmission from your mouth to your body system, and this affects your pregnancy. So I feel like the issue, we cannot neglect oral health because your whole body is dependent on your teeth, what you consume, what you're able to take, your own image. Yes. Yeah.
Let's take a break at this point, and we're looking at oral health this morning, and we're talking about Beyond the Smile, how oral health impacts the body and mind, and coming up to World Oral Health Day, and some of the things that we do actually need to take into consideration. Dr. Nseya Mwende is here with us this morning, and we're looking at some of those issues and saying, you know what, the time has come for us to not just talk about, you know, just brushing your teeth and it goes and that goes away, but things that we can actually take into consideration to make sure that we do, so that our overall health is taken care of, even as our oral health is. We're going to take a break and come back and discuss more on that after this. Good morning. It's 8:30.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
Cloudy, rainy conditions in Nairobi, 16 degrees. We'll see highs of 24 and highs of 24 in a partly sunny Nakuru at 16. It is 16 and cloudy in Nyeri with highs of 22, while into Eldoret at 15 cloudy, going to highs of 24. The sun is up at 29 in Mombasa, and it's also up at 30 in Malindi. We're looking into a mostly cloudy Kisumu at 21, while Kakamega at 20 is cloudy as well. Kampala rainy morning at 20, while Dar es Salaam is sunny at 25. Johannesburg at 14 is cloudy, with Mogadishu at 29 and mostly sunny. It's 15 and sunny in Addis Ababa, while Lagos is cloudy at 28. It's mostly cloudy at 24 in Kinshasa.
Spice FM, Malindi.
Still again to traffic now and what's happening on the Eastern Bypass. There is some traffic as you come through towards North Airport Road. Really heavy right around that Embakasi loop, and outer ring traffic is coming around the loop going back inbound, and so that's one to watch. Some of that will cross over towards Jogo Road and then out towards Landis, but it's not too heavy as you come towards Kamkunji at the roundabout. A little traffic left right around Survey as you come into the city on the Thika Superhighway, and some traffic remains on Kiambu Road this morning. Coming out of Westlands, not too painful, but just some right around Lower Kabete going towards Spring Valley. So we're going to keep an eye on all of this. Keep things moving as we talk. SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
27 minutes towards the top of the hour, and we're talking this morning about our oral health and saying, you know, this actually leads towards better health completely. And we're talking with Dr. Nsea Mwende this morning and looking at how oral health does actually impact overall health. Dennis?
Yeah, now we talk about oral health, and one would ask, how do we take care of them in the sense that brushing, flossing, visit?
When it comes to taking care of the teeth and also making sure that your teeth are healthy, we recommend foodstuffs that have less sugar. We recommend less carbohydrates, but also more of self-cleansing foodstuffs. Self-cleansing foodstuffs, we are talking about carrots, you're talking about veggies, we're talking about those kind of foodstuffs because they tend to clean your cleansing foodstuffs. Take apples, take fruits, yes.
Yeah, and then there is the aspect of DIY. A lot of people are into DIY because YouTube is there. So one of the easiest way to make your teeth white, baking soda together with lemon and add your toothpaste. I mean, there's everything that everyone is doing apart from visiting the dentist. So just speak to that, because I know a lot of people who are doing that.
Yeah, I think that is not recommended. Some of these things that people are doing at home could cause detrimental effects to your overall health. If you need to whiten your teeth, come to the dentist. The materials that you're using at the facilities are materials that are scientifically proven to work, and they are materials that will not damage your enamel. You know, we talked about the enamel being the upper protective part of your teeth. So going to use, baking soda, going to use abrasive charcoal, especially charcoal. Charcoal is very, very abrasive. You cannot use it to brighten your teeth. You will be washing away that part of your enamel, and the next time your teeth are sensitive. So those DIYs I do not recommend. Please stop hurting your body, because today we are talking about oral health and your general health. Stop hurting your body. Come to the dentist.
Back onto teeth sensitivity. Once you wash that enamel, washing away and then exposes your tooth, obviously.
Yes.
Is that situation reversible?
Yes, it's reversible. It depends on the extent. Definitely, if you've used abrasive food stuffs like the charcoal and if you've cut the enamel, then it's not reversible. But if the enamel is intact, and you see the way I'm talking about stuff like lemons, those ones can be reversed, because if you use toothpaste that has fluoride, the fluoride is able to repair that part. But at the level that the enamel is cut, it's not reversible. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you can continue using, use those toothpastes and things that will at least help with that sensitivity. How will you know when sensitivity is so much that something may actually be very wrong with the teeth?
Okay, so for sensitivity, you observe for 2 to 3 days. You use desensitizing toothpaste and observe for 2 to 3 days. Anything past 3 days, it means to be checked by the dentist. It means your teeth are actually exposed, and in cases where the tooth is exposed or cut, then the dentist will go in, examine. Sometimes you may need a filling. Filling is a cover that you put on that area to protect that, or things could be extensive. Your roots could be exposed. In that case, then the gum specialist will come in.
Okay.
So anything more than 3 days, you need to visit us.
Okay.
Yes.
What top 3 things are we telling folks to do every day to ensure that your oral health remains optimal?
On the daily, brush your teeth. Brush your teeth in the morning, brush your teeth at night. They say brush in the morning for your friends, brush at night for your oral health. So we are saying 2 to 3 minutes. Sometimes we may have to go up to 5 minutes, depending on your oral health, because people with crooked teeth, they may need extra brushing aids just to take care of that plaque. We're also saying floss on the daily. Use a dental floss. Nowadays we have so many options for flossing. You could use the thread, just not the one that you put in your teeth and just pull out. You could also use the electric flosser, which comes as a nozzle with water. You're able just to work with it in your mouth. You could also use the interdental brushes. It's very tiny brushes that can go in between your teeth to remove plaque. So you have to floss. Number 3, use a mouthwash. People don't use mouthwashes. Why are we not using a mouthwash? Yet it's able to clean most of the bacteria in your mouth. And also some mouthwashes come with fluoride that enables repair for your teeth. So at least brush, floss, and use a mouthwash.
What's the name of the association that dentists like yourself belong to?
Kenya Dental Association.
Okay, now Kenya Dental Association. What is it that Kenya Dental Association has done over the years to make these messages accessible to the citizenry? One, I'm back on that story of people who live in the rural areas and probably don't have. I'm not leaving that story.
Yes.
The bulk of our population in this country tend to be in the rural areas.
Yes.
I'm not saying that everybody in the rural areas can't afford it.
Yes.
But there are very many people, even who live in town, okay, especially in the disadvantaged economical areas, who can't afford these things.
Yes.
And yet they all need to take care of their teeth.
Yes.
The messages and the efforts that the Dental Association has made towards ensuring that people understand this message.
We've personally, me being a dentist, we've gotten a lot of support from the association. They also have gone ahead and partnered for sponsorships and grants to support treatment in rural areas. For example, the last 3 days we had a group of like 10 to 15 dentists in Masai Mara offering free dental treatment for kids who cannot access oral health care. It's a children's home setup whereby you're able to go and just offer free services for people who cannot be able to afford that. And I believe for the last 3 days, they've seen more than 1,000 patients. People who don't even know about it. They're able to do root canals, they have done cleanings, they have done fillings, they've done whitening and things we call veneers. So I feel like the organization is really supporting these communities in terms of accessing oral health care. The organization is also really championing when it comes to, SHIF and SHA, stuff like that, because you find that SHIF gives 2,000 for a whole household for treatment, dental treatment. That amount cannot even cover for consultation in a properly set up dental clinic. So we are really trying to fight hard so that, these policies that have been made, they can be inclusive and everyone can be able to access oral health care. So the organization is really working hard to make sure that Kenyans can access oral health care.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, World Oral Health Day. Your mouth is about a happy mind. A happy mouth is a happy mind. Now, what does this really mean as we observe this day?
Today, I think the dentists are very excited. I think you'll see most campaigns. We have, I think there's a campaign along Jogorod, Hamza School. There's another campaign in Makueni. We're trying to make sure that everyone can be aware about oral health care and its impact in terms of your oral health. Because if you have a healthy mouth, then you're basically growing a healthy nation, and people are able to take up their roles better. You know, you've seen people who have extreme cases of tooth pain. Even sometimes you can have swellings and you're not able to perform, you're not able to work. And we are saying if these things can be prevented through proper brushing. Some people don't even know that you should brush in the morning and at night. And you do not know that these conditions can actually be prevented. So we are really trying to push hard so that people can get this information. And if it's something that you can prevent and it can improve your daily working routine, then it's something that we need to talk about.
Okay. A couple of questions are coming in. I think that they form part of the conversations that we have. The question here about what is the best kind of toothbrush to use with someone who has hemophilia?
People with hemophilia tend to, their gum health tends to be different because it can bleed easily, and also during the bleeding does not stop.
Right.
Yeah. So we recommend a toothbrush that is soft and also firm. Do not go and get a toothbrush that has these bristles. These toothbrushes that the bristles are very, they are pokey. They are pokey. And you know, those kind of toothbrushes will find the cost will range like between 30 bob or something of the sort. Now that brush will just hurt your gums. So in that case, you're recommending a toothbrush that is really soft and firm so that you don't traumatize your gums. And in the process, because if you traumatize your gum, you're also exposing your blood to bacteria, and we don't want that to get into your bloodstream. So soft and firm, very soft. Yes.
Okay.
You know, how do you make oral health a common subject? Now, I've moved from the rural areas and I've gone to schools.
Yes. So schools will find we need to have talks to the kids.
Do you have them?
Yes, we do. We do a lot of
Is
talks.
it organized? I mean, how do you go about it? How do you ensure that you have these discussions? Now, let me move to a favorite area of mine. How do you talk, or have you considered talking with the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development so that this aspect, when you inculcate this knowledge in a child, you know, they grow up with it.
Yes.
Something they know.
Yes.
So, how do we ensure that this push towards ensuring that people understand oral health so they can seek it at a very early age, so that as they grow up, it's just something that is part and parcel of their lives?
Yeah.
Again, we are back to the Kenya Dentists Association.
So, I feel like this is both a role to do with the KDA, and also there is public participation to it, because the organization will support us in terms of documentation and also how we are able to access the schools. Yeah, I will, for example, say, Dr. Monday, I want to do a certain health talk in a certain school, probably just within the area or close to where my practice is. So I will go to KDA and they will be able to support that in terms of documentation. Now, when you go to the school, you need to find people who are already excited, or they're like, you know, they already accept this whole idea about oral health. And that way, we are able to get the kids together, give them a talk, probably for 30 to 40 minutes, show them how to brush, show them how to choose a toothpaste, show them how to put the correct amount of toothpaste, and show them how to floss. And I feel like when this information is actually shared in a large forum, or when the kids are together, and also they tend to take it up better, because sometimes we'll also go with what we call oral health diaries, or rather just a book to guide you as a child on how to brush. It gives you reminders on like when to brush, how to do it. So those activities, I feel like the organization really comes in handy and they support.
There are those who are of this view. It's anecdotal.
Yeah.
Nothing scientific about it, but they have this view that if you chew sugarcane, it helps maintain good oral health.
Yes.
Debunk it or just tell me it's absolutely true. Your choice.
I support it because we said self-cleansing foodstuffs will improve your health. Sugarcane comes with cut juice. So you just eat and it cleanses. And it's also after when you're done eating it, the waste.
The fiber.
Yes, it's like a toothbrush. So it really improves your oral hygiene. Yes.
And the sugar aspect.
No, that's natural sugar.
Natural sugar. It's processed sugar, that's a problem.
Yeah, natural sugar is good. It's very good.
So there is also the aspect of, I think, oil pulling that is happening a lot nowadays.
The what?
Oil pulling.
What is that?
Exactly.
Oil pulling is it's a DIY thing that people do at home.
Stop. What's DIY?
Do it yourself.
That's what it is?
Yes.
Okay, and then now what is oil pulling?
So now the oil pulling procedure is you take some oil, mostly...
what sort of oil?
Coconut.
I think it's coconut.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you just get it into your mouth. Then you keep sushing for 10 minutes.
What is it supposed to do?
What people say it's supposed to do, because it's not in our books, it's not scientifically proven, is that it picks bacteria. And then when you spit out, then it cleanses your mouth. Now, I do not support that because...
coconut oil.
Yes.
It's happening, City. It's actually a question that has been asked.
I'm not doubting that it's happening.
Yes.
I'm just wondering, okay, if it's coconut oil, okay, why not then just sunflower oil? Well, why coconut?
Exactly. That's why I'm saying there's no scientific background to that, and I wouldn't recommend.
Yeah, so what I hear you, Doc, say is that there is a lot of misinformation that is out there when it comes to taking care of our teeth.
Yes.
And the most important thing that we need to do is to come for professional advice and treatment from dentists. Now, as this day is being observed, one would ask, there is your association that we can come to, KDA
yes.
that we can come to, but then again, there is the aspect of how many dentists do we have in the country, and can they meet the population, and if not, what should the government do?
We do not have enough dentists for sure, because as you're speaking currently, the number of practicing dentists in this country is less than 1,000. And we are a population of, remind me, 50 million?
55 million.
So if you do that ratio, it's
ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. We are not even close to that.
What's the problem? Are we not having enough dentists trained, or are we having more dentists trained and not hired? Where is the gap?
The gap is, from the training. I think annually the uptake of dentists for dental school is normally, I think, around 50. Between 30 to 40.
40?
Yes. Because we do not have enough resources to train dentists in this country. Or rather, that is what the government will paint to us, that we do not have enough resources to train dentists. So for sure, we don't have enough dentists in the country. And I feel like the government needs to take this more seriously. Because how do you train? I think for medical officers, annually you'll find almost 300 to 500. How do you compare that to 30?
You can't.
You cannot.
Even if we tried very early in the morning, I don't think we can actually compare that.
So it starts at that. The training is not, we do not have enough dentists being trained in the country. And also that has led to a very huge gap in terms of people being able to access oral health. Because you will find, to make it worse, even with those few dentists, find that we are not even being employed. Personally, I've never been employed by the government. So you get out of school from internship and you're just on your own. You're not assured of a job. And that's why personally I ventured into private practice early, because the government was not going to employ me. Or rather, there were no vacancies, or rather, we are not getting employed.
What did you say the ratio was? Dentists to, so some say it's 1 to 33,000.
Yeah, it's really...
Some 1 to 50. Now, surely...
It's ridiculous.
Yes, it is. But also, if I look at other disciplines in medicine, I look at the ratio of people to doctors is equally interesting to observe. But there are other medical practitioners who are not doctors who help provide services.
Yes.
What about dentists? Do you have dental technicians? Do you have people who are trained in the field of dentistry who are not necessarily doctors?
Now, interestingly, the government is willing to employ the diploma level of training. So you find beneath dentists, we have another cadre of community oral health workers. And
community oral health workers.
Yes, and the government is giving jobs to community oral health workers compared to the dentists. Reason, dentists are expensive to employ. But then I wonder, isn't just your whole health, isn't oral health a priority?
Indeed.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I want to go to one thing, and it's kind of in link to what we talked about, in the rural areas. I mean, not even just, but also urban areas as well. And the use of salt is a big issue. People say, well, if I don't have toothpaste, I can put salt on a toothbrush, or I can make a mouthwash out of water and salt to then be able to use mouthwash being one of the things that you said we must do every day, Dr.
Yes.
Does that work? Or would you recommend that?
You cannot brush with salt for sure. You cannot brush with salt, but for gargling, you can gargle with warm salty water. It tends to fasten your healing, especially after an extraction. But for daily brushing, no. No, salt is not recommended.
Okay, Dr. says no. How often are we to be seeing a dentist?
You should see your dentist at least twice a year, for routine checkup. Just checkup and cleaning. Even sometimes when you feel like your teeth are clean, you need to go to the dentist so that you can have that cleaning done and also professional checkup. Now, some people will feel like, my mouth looks okay, my teeth look okay, I don't need to go to the dentist. And at that times, a cavity could be forming, sometimes in between your teeth, cavities that you don't see. That's why when you come for the checkup, you're able to do so much for you. You're able to diagnose something that is just in the initial stages, and it's cheaper to treat that way, and it's less invasive. So we'd say, come twice a year, every 6 months. Yes. Yeah.
The discussion around oral health is, it's like discussing an intergalactic element that we're not familiar with, and yet it lives with us. I'll tell you why I'm saying this. When we have discussions on health, dentistry hardly ever features, and yet its importance cannot be overstated.
It's very important.
No, it's extremely important.
Yes.
Now, I'm not going to talk to the Kenya Dental Association. I mean, the thing is,
any discussion are talking about it. But how far are we willing to go in terms of oral health care?
I mean, usually some disaster happens before we actually take into consideration. Maternal health took such a big, chunk of everybody's attention because babies and mothers started to die.
Yes.
That's the truth.
Yes.
That mothers would die during childbirth, and that babies would also die, preterm.
Yeah.
And then after delivery, in a few days, babies would die.
Yes.
And that happened with such in a rapid movement, and it happened with a higher occurrence, and so we started to pay attention. Mental health, we had people then starting to do really bizarre things, which is the case. Abuse of alcohol, abuse of drugs. We had murders taking place, and then somebody sat up and said, okay, let's do something about it.
Yes.
Attention was paid to cancer because prominent people started dying from cancer.
Yes.
This is just the truth.
Yes.
That terrible things usually need to happen before we start paying attention to something.
Yes.
It sounds terrible, but that's the case. Now, when we look at oral health, sadly, if something terrible doesn't happen, the likelihood of us paying some rapt attention to it is low.
Let me tell you, terrible things have happened.
Okay.
It is just that we do not talk about them. We have seen, I did my internship in the country, Kenyatta National Hospital, just here. And when I tell you about the prevalence of oral cancer in this country, it's crazy. You know, something starts in your mouth as a tiny ulcer. No one talks about it. No one ever talks about oral health. It keeps growing. You're just there. You're not aware about it. By the time you're coming to the hospital, this is cancer that has gone up to grade 4.
Oh dear.
Wow.
Let me tell you, terrible things have happened. It's just that we are not talking about it. And as dentists, we are gonna be talking about it. You will be seeing us very often in social media, on the screens, just the same way we've done. I think for the last 5 years, we've really made oral health something in this country. We've been talking about it. We've been sharing on our social media handles. We've been talking about it. We've been telling people it has been like this, but it's now different. People have not been going to the dentist. If you notice an ulcer in your mouth that has persisted for more than 2 weeks, please go to the dentist. You know? We need to talk about how chewing mirror predisposes you to oral cancer.
Smoking.
You know? Smoking, how it predisposes you to oral cancer. Those are the discussions that we need to talk. And people need to know about the situation. You go to Kenyatta National Hospital, so many admissions for oral cancer. People do not talk about it. So we will keep talking about it. We will keep talking about the things that we want to change.
Indeed.
We will keep talking about people who have had extractions or other treatment from unqualified dental professionals. And those people have ended up in admission wards, and those people have ended up losing their lives.
Important conversations for us to have, and it's not incidental that we have those conversations in this room, and necessary for us to keep talking about them. I want to thank you very much, Dr. Nzea Mwende, for joining us this morning as we looked into a number of these issues. Not to forget, you can get 50% off your Sensodyne product at any of your Carrefour, Naivas, Quick Mart or Chandarana today in celebration of World Oral Health Day until the 23rd. Get 50% off select products. And that has been our conversation for this morning. Thank you so much. Good morning. It is 9 a.m.
Spice up your life.
Justice Martha Koome will speak with Dutch nationals who live and work in the country. A Ugandan man who stabbed his wife to death for cooking omena and not meat for supper has been arrested in Naivasha after he confessed to a motorist about the incident. The suspect had on Monday night at around 10 p.m. flagged a motorist who was driving along the Gilgil-Naivasha road and requested a lift to Nairobi. During their conversation, he confessed to having killed his wife over domestic disputes at their home, which borders Kenya and Uganda, and was on the run. The suspect was arrested and placed in lawful custody pending transfer to Uganda. Women leaders in Trans Nzoia County have been urged to stop being hostile and avoid derogatory remarks towards their colleagues in public forums. The call was made by the chairperson of the leaders, Shamala Immaculate, who stressed that democracy should not be undermined and that gender equality should be considered in all aspects of leadership.
Sisi ni wanawake viongozi, lakini cha msingi tusije tukararuana manguo wala kutiana aibu hadi tunafanya wananchi wanakosa kuwa na imani na sisi. Tuache uhasama, aibu, tuache kejeli. Wale ambao wako katika uongozi mbalimbali, tuwe na hiyo nidhamu, wapa support, wafanye kazi yao. Wakati ambapo watangatuliwa na sisi wananchi, watangatuliwa kidemokrasia. Demokrasia haimaanishi kuna yule mkubwa na mdogo kwa mwingine. Sisi sote tuko sawa, na usawa katika jinsia lazima udumishwe na sisi wanawake wenyewe.
Furthermore, Immaculate says that a woman should not be the enemy of her husband, saying that the issue will be discussed in detail at a Women's Leaders Conference to be held soon.
Kama shirika tunataka kutengeneza kongamano kubwa na kuita mwanamke yeyote kiongozi katika nyumba yake, skuli, bodi, katika kanisa, nafasi mbalimbali. Tuje kwa pamoja tukubaliane vile tunavyoweza kufanya kazi yetu katika uongozi. Mwanamke wa kike kiongozi ambaye hatafika, basi huyo ana uadui na wanawake wenzake, na pia kidogo ni kwamba hana nidhamu na pia sio kiongozi. Lakini tunawarai viongozi wote wa kike katika gatuzi la Trans Nzoia, tuje tukae chini, tufanye kazi yetu kwa amani.
And in the international scene, Rwanda-backed M23 rebels pressed deeper into Congolese territory a day after Congo and Rwanda's presidents called for an immediate ceasefire, entering the outskirts of the town of Walikale late on Wednesday. Gunfire was ringing out from near the town's Nyabangi neighborhood, said Walikale resident Yavia Kabutwa. An army source who asked not to be named said the rebels were battling soldiers and pro-government militias after overrunning an army position outside the town in a surprise attack. Walikale, which is in an area rich in minerals including tin, is the farthest west M23 has reached during its unprecedented advance this year. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
In this country, 6 families and...
All right, still busy in the city this morning. Not too bad. I think we're getting where we're going, and the sun is coming up, peeking through those clouds as it was earlier. On the Thika Superhighway, traffic more or less now just around that survey area as you head then towards Muthaiga Square and then out into the city. Most parts of the city are clear now. On Gong Road, we have some traffic that's heading out towards Valley Road and then into the CBD. But coming off Langata Road, not an issue here. And Jogo Road is also doing all right. Kangunda Road will still be busy for a while and parts of Outer Ring. But we're going to keep an eye on all of this and keep it moving as best we can. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
6 minutes after 9 o'clock, and getting into the final hour of Kenya's biggest conversation this Thursday, and getting into a place where certain conversations need to be had, and we'll keep having them, and that's what we'll do in the Situation Room every weekday. So you take that hot cup of coffee or that hot cup of your favorite drink and you feel some sensitivity, or maybe not. Can you imagine that? Or you have an iced drink and you don't feel that sensitivity anymore. It's good when you imagine, but you don't have to imagine that anymore because it can actually be a real situation. Sensodyne is here to give you the ultimate relief from tooth sensitivity. How do we know? Because it's the #1 brand recommended by dentists, and you don't have to worry about that anymore. World Oral Health Day is coming up, and we're reminding you that a happy mouth is a happy mind. So go to any one of the outlets of Carrefour, Naivas, Chandarana or Quickmart and get 50% off on select Sensodyne products from today until the 23rd of March. For tooth sensitivity relief and everyday health, what you need to remember is Sensodyne. And we're getting into conversations this morning that you may not be all smiles about, but it's something to definitely think about. And as we get into it, our guest is already seated in the hot seat. He's been here before, so he's no stranger to the hot seat. And some of these issues that we talk about, we need to continue keeping them front and center. Shadrach Mwadime is the Principal Secretary in the State Department for Labour and Skills Development, and he's our guest this hour. PS, good morning.
Morning, and thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here again. Karibu sana.
Asante.
Well, let's welcome you to the Situation Room before we get into some of these topics.
In the Republic of the Sudan. Why the Republic of Sudan? Because we have been visiting the countries on the continent of Africa that we refer to as countries within the geopolitical space of what we call the coup belt. Countries that are characterized, sadly enough, by just the numerous coups they have had. Sudan got its independence in 1958. Since then, they've had 7 coups. There was a big lull when Omar al-Bashir was president, so for 30 years, they didn't have coups. But thereafter, it's like they've gone back to factory settings.
Yeah.
Third largest producer of gold on the continent. Okay. Third largest country on the continent. All these things that we say are wonderful about the country are lost. Anyway, the proverb. Better your Lear Bob than people's dates. Now, let me explain. Lear Bob is supposed to be the description of a certain herbal concoction and mixture that was used in Persia. Among the things that it was used for was for male infertility.
Every time. Every time.
Yes, it's a good one, isn't it? Yes, exactly. So let me now rephrase a proverb using something that is easy to understand. Better your herbal concoction than other people's dates. Date as in the fruit that people eat, like during this month of Ramadan, some of the things people eat too when they break their fast. Am I right, Alhaj?
You're right.
Thank you very much. Yes.
Please.
What is your take on this proverb? What do you think it means?
My assumption is dates are used during Ramadan, and also it's a delicacy, most likely for the Gulf region. They take dates possibly during celebrations, but also for their basic food as a necessity. So my take is that the concoction only comes in during difficult times, and difficult times are there. They are normal. Human beings have to go through difficult times, So better the concoction, because as you go through the difficult times, your expectation is there are better days ahead, and therefore you'll partake of the deaths going forward. Am I right?
Let me tell you, today the guests have gotten this proverb. I don't know what it is about the proverb, but they've understood it excellently.
Perfectly.
So have excellently. To the point where nothing will be explained or added. Thank you.
Thank you.
Asante.
Yes.
Asante.
Fantastic. P.S. Let me draw your attention to a report that was released on the 16th of March by the New York Times. We are not sure why they commissioned this report, but it came out either way. And the numbers that we were given is that 274 Kenyan workers, most of whom are women, died in Saudi Arabia over the past 5 years, despite being a young workforce in non-dangerous jobs. It went on to talk about Ugandans and Kenyans, but the Kenyan women travel to Saudi Arabia each year to take up domestic jobs, such as housekeepers and nannies, but many are returning with stories of unpaid wages, detention, beatings, starvation, and sexual assault. Others have returned in coffins. Among those who died, autopsies have revealed evidence of trauma such as burns and electric shocks. But Saudi authorities labeled the deaths as natural causes. Eunice Achieng, one example, a Kenyan housekeeper, called home in 2022 and said that her boss had threatened to kill her and throw her in a water tank. She was later found dead in a rooftop water tank in what Saudi police labeled a natural death. It's part of the report. We've had these conversations several times.
Yes.
274 over 5 years is a very large number.
True.
And the work employment situation in the country, which has been accepted, is an issue. We have seen the work of the government to try and secure jobs for many a Kenyan abroad. But comes into question, number one, the safety, number two, the security, and number three, the G2G agreements that are made when Kenyan workers are leaving here to look for greener pastures or just to look for a job. So let's look at the state of this particular situation, PS. The state of Kenya's labor market today. Where are we, taking into consideration this report, which I've shared parts of just now, and the reality of on the ground, where more and more people are still leaving Kenya's shores looking for work?
First of all, let me say that is a very sad story, and even the statistics that have been quoted, there's nothing exciting about that. And therefore, the need for us to counter what is happening with the best strategies that we can employ. Let me first start by saying, migration is as old as humankind. Ever since man found himself on the face of this earth, he has been migrating, looking for better, pastures, looking for a better kill as it is, better opportunities. He keeps on hunting, for better and better ways of improving his standard of living.
Mm-hmm.
So migration is normal as it is. Yeah, even those of us who are seated here, we migrated. We came from our rural, homes to come and look for a better pay, and make use of our skills the best way we can. So migration has been taking place for a pretty long period of time. You will be surprised that there are about 4 million Kenyans out there in the diaspora, trying to eke a living, to earn a living. So what am I trying to say? Government comes in to guarantee the interests of Kenyans, of its citizens. That is the reason why government comes in, so as to ensure it is done in a very structured and organized way. That is the object of government. So yes, there have been those very, very sad cases that have taken place. And therefore, as I said earlier on, the need for government to put in place strategies to counter that. And indeed, we have done a lot. Let me just enumerate what we have done for the last nearly 1.5 years. As it is now, we are negotiating for human rights, based bilateral labor agreements in accordance with the ILO model. We are actually using the ILO model to negotiate for these rights, so that Kenyans who access these job opportunities and good opportunities with that, and in accordance with, the structures that we have put in place, will ensure they get maximum out of their labor in these countries.
Now, P.S. Even as you still look at the reports that you're having here, 1,000 Kenyans are in jails abroad. This is in the precipice of Nduta, who is in Vietnam. And Nduta as well was leaving this country because she was going to look for better opportunities. And as we talk about the labor situation in the country right now, we look at doctors are about to down their tools. We look at every other sector, everyone in one way or the other wants to down their tools because of how they're being treated, which goes to speak on the MOUs, the CBAs that are being agreed upon, which are not implemented per se, which goes to beg the question, therefore, why does it seem as though the government is not ensuring that its people, even in the country or without, get the best out of its government?
No, we are doing our very best. Possibly where previous administrations have failed to do is to negotiate the CBAs, early enough, rather than waiting until the 11th hour when things go haywire, and that's when they come in, and sometimes they're under duress. So they append their signatures, on documents that they know pretty well they will not be able to sustain going forward because of the finances that are required. I think the best way out is to have discussions, continuously. The tripartite arrangement that is there between government, employers, and employees, this has to take place continuously. Let me give you an example. The university lecturers were also on strike last year. We did append our signature on a return to work formula, but we did agree that there is need for us to start negotiating for the next CBA as it is now, rather than waiting until that particular period, when the CBA is supposed to be effected, that's when we start negotiating. We'll end up in trouble. So it's a question of looking at the performance of the economy. You see, many a times, officers will append their signatures on a document because they don't want to see people on the streets, not necessarily because they know going forward the government will be able to pay the tax as required. So, in essence, it's a question of sitting together. Yeah, we appraise them concerning this economic situation as it is and the projection going forward. Then, on the basis of that, we can negotiate whether there's going to be an increment or not. So, yes, administrations have failed in terms of discussing these issues at the 11th hour. It should not be so. Yeah.
And so then taking into consideration of volatile, it is volatile, and that's why we did see the president make certain agreements with different countries Germany, Canada, the Gulf states, and to say that, have an environment where Kenyan workers can come there. The question is, beyond saying come, how far do these agreements go in ensuring the protection of Kenyan workers abroad?
Yeah, that's a very critical question. And therefore, the strategies that we have in place to ensure that the BLA, the Bilateral Labor Agreement, is implemented as it is. What we are doing currently is to deploy labor attaches. We want to deploy government officers who will, first of all, ensure that they receive Kenyans when they migrate to these countries of destination, get to know where they will be working in terms of the location, the geographical location, the employer, the terms and conditions. And not only that, give them also their contacts so that in case they're in trouble, this officer can respond to that situation immediately, in real time. Yeah. So what we are trying to do is, particularly countries where Kenyans are migrating in large numbers, we will deploy more labor attaches. We have a labor attache in Riyadh, as it is currently in Saudi Arabia. We want to deploy another one in Jeddah. You've made reference to the bilateral labor agreement that was signed between the president and the chancellor of Germany sometime last year, actually in September last year. We are deploying a labor attache to Germany as it is from July. There's a labor attache who will be deployed there, so as to look into the welfare of Kenyans, get to know where they are, as I said, the exact location, so that in case anybody gets into trouble, gets into a wanting situation, then the government officer can come in to assist.
Yes, one would ask, the labor attaches that you deploy, say, to these countries, how significant are they and what can they do in these countries?
They play a very major role. Let me give an example of Saudi Arabia. Yeah, if you are to look at the statistics in terms of, the complaints that were being raised by Kenyans before, in comparison to the way the situation is now, you can see there's a reduction in the number of complaints. And that's the reason why we have found it fit to deploy these labor attaches. And by the way, looking at other countries also that have succeeded, Philippines, for example, has deployed a number of labor attaches all over the world. There are as many, possibly, as the ambassadors that they have. So this is the way to go. Get somebody who understands labor laws very well, who understands the ILO conventions very well, so that in case there is a challenge, then you can be able to intervene. But not only that, we want to study the legal frameworks of these countries, because we strongly believe the constitutions of these countries can still be of assistance to our young people out there, So it's a question of studying the legal framework, get to know how you can capitalize on it also to safeguard the interests of your people.
Yeah. You spoke of Germany. When we send a labor attaché to Germany, are we piloting? Are we trying to figure out how this thing works in a country where we actually haven't had very many complaints? And one, two, they have a policy on migrant workers, but they look for skilled workers.
Yes, absolutely.
So the people who actually end up there fill something like a 400,000 job gap per year that Germany has. And because they have very clear policies on how this works, it's categorized. And so you actually have an idea. Are we trying to see how it is a labor attaché would function in such a setup? Because the bulk of the complaints that we have come from the Middle East. And I would have assumed that that is where we would need a labor attaché. Probably more than one, because the area and the numbers of people there are more.
You'll be surprised, Muga. We have a labor attaché in Qatar.
We do.
We do. The one who is there currently, her term is coming to an end. There is another one that we are deploying from May to take over. We have a labor attaché in the United Arab Emirates that we have deployed there, to work and look into our interest. We're intending to deploy a labor attaché also in Kuwait, and the rest of the other countries, even Oman, because Oman, we have a relationship, with that country. Omani Arabs came to Mombasa a long time ago, and therefore Kenyans don't suffer much when they go to that country. They're able to understand their culture and their way of life. But we're going to deploy one. So yes, our focus is in areas where Kenyans are migrating in large numbers. Germany is a country that going forward, owing to the fact that we've signed a bilateral labor agreement with them, we can foresee many Kenyans will capitalize on the opportunities opening, up in that country. And therefore the need for us to send a labor attaché. That labor attaché will be in charge of Germany and also Austria, because we've signed a memorandum of understanding also with Austria. So that labor attaché will be in charge of that area. But you're absolutely right in that the constitution in some of these Western European countries, take care of the welfare of migrant workers in a very comprehensive way. But nevertheless, you cannot assume that you'll not have a challenge or two. And therefore, the need for you to be careful and, be proactive and deploy an officer who will take care of any needs that are likely to arise. Because remember, this is a country where we are testing. We're putting our foot in there and testing the waters to see whether it's going to work positively or not.
When we look at the agreements that are made, and you talk about then going in and seeing what is constitutionally available, those countries where Kenya does have these BLAs with, this is an ongoing process. Do you see that as something that can be done before Kenyans actually find their way to those countries, or is it something that continues?
No, it cannot be done before, because as I explained earlier on, you cannot stop human beings. I'm not making reference to Kenyans per se, but human beings from migrating to look for greener pastures. Yes, you can't stop them. And that's the reason why I said earlier on, there are about 4 million Kenyans out there. Government comes in to safeguard their interests, but you cannot stop people from going to countries where they think they can be able to improve on their standard of living. Yes, we may need to be strategic in terms of countries that we foresee Kenyans are likely to migrate to, And mind you, what we are pushing for is not labor migration per se, but labor mobility, So what we are saying is it's circular migration. They go there for a short period of time, possibly 3 years, 4 years. We want them to come back home with a kill. They've gone hunting. We want them to bring back the resources that they will be able to save to make our economy expand. So yes, there are other countries that we can foresee possibly Kenyans will be moving to. Southeast Asian countries have become problematic as it is currently, but we can foresee Kenyans will get more opportunities there in terms of teaching English, in terms of, IT, working in IT industries, and therefore we want to be strategic and ensure that we're able to deploy also labor attaches in those countries going forward. Of course, the biggest challenge we have is with government currently is the limited resources, that we have. But nevertheless, as we go forward, as we sensitize also, Parliament, the National Assembly, on the need for them to vote for more money in this program, will eventually succeed.
P.S. One would argue that if we can't stop anyone from migrating, because that is just the nature of doing things. And even as we continue looking for labor outside, one would ask, why don't we look inwards in terms of providing these opportunities here? Because why do I say that? There is an argument, and you would argue it's valid, the sense that these young, strong, energetic Kenyans are being sent out there to grow those economies. You'd argue in the sense that the remittances that they send home and how important it is to our GDP. But how about that energy is being spent back home to build our economy, which then goes back to the government in providing these opportunities for these Kenyans to build the country here?
No, you are absolutely right, but there is a flip side to that story. The reality of the situation is the unemployment rate is high now. We're not talking about tomorrow. The situation that is obtaining currently is extremely wanting. How do you tell these young people, who are energetic, who are skilled, how do you tell them to wait until the economy expands before we engage them? Human beings are social beings. They need to develop themselves. They need to get married. They need to establish their families. So you can't tell them, look, the ideal situation is for us to employ you within the economy. So stay put, wait for the next 5 years. We have policies that we have put in place to enable the economy expand, and then we are going to engage you. That cannot happen.
On the flip side, one would ask then, what is the future with regard to the same question in terms of solving the problem?
Yes. So, in essence, this is how we are going to solve the problem of the expansion of our economy. Yeah,
and solving unemployment.
And solving the unemployment problem. Of course, one, we have to put in place, good macro policies to ensure the economy expands. But we're looking at models that obtain also in other countries. And I did mention this also the last time that I was here. South Korea, for example, that sent their young people to Japan. They were able to get technology as it was then and came back with the same know-how to their country. That's the reason why we have the Hyundais that compete with the Toyota models that we have in the international car market. We have the smartphones, the electronic equipment that we have. South Korea is now competing at the same level with Japan. And it's basically because they were strategic enough to send their young people to Japan to get know-how and bring it back home. So this is what we are saying. Last year, looking at the statistics, the data that we have from the central bank, Kenyans were able to remit back home $4.95 billion. Money that was injected into our economy, which has expanded our economy substantially. Compare that with the traditional cash crop earners, agriculture, tourism. Agriculture is at $1.5 billion as it is now. Remittances at $4.95 billion. Where should our focus be then?
I see a marked difference, PS, between the example that you gave and what happens in Kenya today. The example that you gave of young South Koreans going to Japan to build skill and then bring it back to essentially put something into the economy that grows the economy and that you can see it today. I see a marked difference between that and what we're talking about, where Kenyans go out and bring in, in terms of affecting the economy, it's huge. It's billions in terms of dollars that comes in every year. However, do we see a transference of skills? Are these people coming back here to be able to build an economy? We know, for example, there is no way that the economy will grow if you're not making profits. And those profits come from manufacturing, they come from industry. You sell, you make a surplus, and that is what grows your economy. We know this. So I don't see the connection between an example given in South Korea, Japan, and here. And shouldn't we be here at that point? Shouldn't we be there at this point whereby you're saying industry is growing, manufacturing is through the roof, industry is expanding, beyond money coming in and people building their homes? What else is being done?
Let me break it down to you. I want to give a very, very appropriate example, and I'll give another one with reference to your question. Yeah, but let me give an example of a housemaid in Saudi Arabia who is bringing back remittances, who has bought a plot somewhere, who has been able to construct rental houses, in the process has employed a mason, has employed an electrician, in the process has been able to assist those who are mining, say, sand, and stones. So, in essence, you may not see it in a very, very big way, but in actual sense, she's making a huge contribution to the economy. Absolutely. She has employed other people who are idle, who are not engaged, but they have found a source of living as it is. But let me look at it now from a bigger perspective. We are sending young people to Germany. Isn't it a fact that in terms of the technology that obtains in Germany currently, it's at another level in comparison to what we have in Kenya?
But who is it assisting? It's assisting the German economy.
Yes, but I'm talking of the know-how. I'm talking of the know-how. Yes, within the short period of time, it will assist the Germans. There's no question about it. But the know-how that they will get, because we are sending IT experts, we are sending electricians, we are sending professionals as it is. They will be able then to come back.
But are they coming back? P.S. I think that's the question.
As I said earlier on.
Are the Kenyans who are leaving Kenya going to other countries to build their expertise and boost other economies, do we actually see that they are coming back to contribute to the Kenyan economy? And if they are, please give us examples of how they're coming back and where they're doing
The answer is yes, yes, yes. You see, I said earlier on that the object we have is to encourage circular migration. We're not encouraging Kenyans to go and migrate there permanently and to settle there permanently. It's labor mobility. Go work for 3 years, 4 years, come back home. So what we are trying to do, we have sat with Kenya Investment Authority. We want to ensure that the returns on investments for Kenyans as they come back with their savings is as high as it can be, so that we come up with a product, that is geared towards encouraging Kenyans also to remit back their savings. So what can you do? You can give tax holidays, just as an example, for that person who is putting up an industry. Rather than waiting for, other investors from other countries to come and invest, make use of your own Kenyans to come back home and do so. So yes, the return on investments will be high. The diaspora bonds, that was launched the other day, is to guarantee this Kenyan the highest return on their savings, so as to ensure that they find it more attractive to bring back their savings home rather than to retain them in their country. And mind you, savings that are remitted back home, in accordance with the statistics that we have, about 3-4 years ago, was at 5%. We want to grow it to even 10%. We want to grow it even to 20%, so that this Kenyan is guaranteed the money that he has saved will sustain him even for a long period of time to come.
Let's take a break and come back and see how really it does impact on the Kenyan economy and how the labor question is being approached. The PS in the State Department for Labor and Skills Development, Shadrach Mwadime, is here with us this morning, and we're looking at Kenya's labor problem and ways towards fixing it. It's 25 minutes to 10. We continue right after this.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to chilled spice.
Traffic in Nairobi this morning. It seems to be moving along really well on the Thika Superhighway. Just a little bit of that left as you approach Survey, and then out towards Murang'a Road, by the way, as you get towards the Globe Cinema roundabout, free into the city, not a problem into the CBD. Coming off Uhuru Highway, we'll have little bits and bobs of traffic as you approach Haile Selassie Avenue, but I think after that we'll be okay. SpiceFM KE on X through the morning. Let's keep talking and keep things moving on X.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
The Principal Secretary in the State Department of Labor and Skills Development is Shadrach Mwadime. He's our guest this hour. CT, you had a question just before we went to the break.
We are referring to Germany. It's a good example that we should follow. Germany enacted what they call the German Skilled Immigration Act in 2020. So it provides a framework for everything that we're discussing. Do we have an equivalent? An equivalent which caters for, one, training that skilled labor so that they can meet local needs, export, because we're exporting labor, and not just exporting, but ensuring that there is a transfer of skills that are acquired coming back into the country. Do we have such a plan? Do we have such an act? Do we have such a framework?
We have a policy that we have put in place. We are calling it the National Skills Development Policy for Labor Mobility. The entire object, first of all, is to scan both the local market and also the international market. Find out the kind of demands that are there, what jobs are being demanded for, so that when we get to know where there are gaps, we can quickly inform curriculum, so that we don't allow our young people to go through school until they have graduated and they find themselves jobless. We must shepherd them in such a way that at the end of their course, they can be guaranteed, that employment is available, if not locally, then internationally.
But are we? PS?
Yes.
Because it doesn't.
Let me tell you what we're doing.
I would want to know what programs are in schools today to ensure that they are aware of the careers that are available in the country today or outside the country, so that they know that that's where they're geared to. And I would really like to also be made aware of these individuals who go and are skilled workers, medical doctors, engineers, lawyers in other countries, who are then coming back to Kenya to build the economy. Most people don't come back, PS, that's the truth. They stay there, and the beneficiaries of their skill is the host nation, not Kenya.
Yeah, I'm afraid of quoting names so that, legal action is not taken against me. But let me give you an example. I'll give you an example of a person. I'll not name that person. But we have a former cabinet secretary, who is also still senior in government, in the government structure that we have, who worked in Saudi Arabia, in the financial institutions there for a pretty long period of time, and eventually came back home, came up with his own firms, got into politics, and he has made it big. There is a lady that I know of from US, who is in the hardware industry as it is. She has retail shops all over the country, with very attractive prices for her products, who is here in this country. It's just that I can't name them. If they had given me permission to do so, I would have done so. Yesterday, I was meeting a gentleman who has been in US for the last 25 years and is coming back home, to implement that which he has been able to get there in terms of the know-how back home. You need to have a discussion with the Kenya Diaspora Association. There are many Kenyans,
as we often do,
who are coming, who are coming back home with the savings that they have made, and they are changing lives here. They are employing Kenyans, they are paying them in accordance with the minimum wage. They are not being exploited because these are their fellow Kenyans, their younger brothers and sisters. Things, if you look at the trajectory, things are looking good.
Now, P.S., let's talk about the transfer of knowledge that you're discussing here. And you've actually quoted South Korea. South Korea started as a textile industry, nguo all over the world, and then got into wigs before they got into vehicles that you've actually quoted, which is Hyundai. And when you talk about Hyundai, they used the Mitsubishi engine back in the 70s. But what did they do? They brought in experts from Japan, from the US, to help them improve the Hyundai to become the Genesis that is there today. As you talk about our skilled labor going out there, you see, as they come back, what is the government doing in making sure that the skills that are out there, those that are working in all these big firms that are out there, that we have that skill to build our companies back home, so that the economy grows? Because you see, the government was intention on who it needed to bring on board for their vehicle industry to grow. Are we seeing that movement in the government today?
Yes, we are. Ideally, as you said earlier on, Kenyans would wish to work within their country, rather than migrate abroad. There are some who will have to migrate. So what we are doing with reference to that, now that we have arrangements with some of these Western European countries, we're also attracting them to come and invest in our country. I want to give an example of a gentleman in Kwale, whom I will not mention his name, but he's German, and he has come with the technology of making shoes, quality shoes that are being sold in the international market. That's part of it. But he's insisting also in terms of the know-how that is required. If it is possible, we change our curriculum in our TVETs. If it is possible, we send our young people also to Germany to learn, of what is expected of them, so that when they come back to his industry in Kwale, they'll be able to produce quality shoes as he expects. We are looking forward to big companies, Bosch and what have you, which we are trying to attract, also to come to Kenya and invest in our economy in terms of establishing industries. So we give them a good, attractive package and allow our young people then to be able to get that know-how also within.
When appears in the 1990s, through Kenya Industrial Estates and some participation of ICDC, we were making shoes locally. ICDC funded an entity called Tiger Shoes. Kenya Industrial Estates, I know, funded in Mombasa entities that were making shoes. Now, I start and stop with shoes But people talk of uchumi, and they do not know that the uchumi supermarkets that led the way to all the big names that we have was part of ICDC. Now, why am I saying this? I'm saying this, that if we look for external investments into the country, and yet we have not had, we actually have a framework that can support locals to do the very same thing. What is being done to revive? Because these things tend to be on their deathbed. They've been bastardized and messed up with for the longest time. You have Agricultural Development Corporation. You have Agricultural Finance Company. We had entities that sought to ensure that the sectors that are important for us in this country had a growth process and had a framework within which they could work. We have Africa Tours and Hotels. Most people don't even know that was also part of ICDC. Yeah. I'm mentioning this because we are not really that far away from doing what other people are doing in the West or in Southeastern Asia. As PS Labour, what steps are we taking to ensure that structure that we once had that was supposed to propel us to where these people are, and arguably some came and saw those structures, adopted them, and it actually worked. What are we doing? Because if we are tuning our curriculum to meet these needs, if we are ensuring that we have a labor workforce that can actually be exported and we can see it, it means they meet the master to be taken abroad to work in those places. What are we doing to ensure that these very same people can be encouraged locally? Or when somebody leaves after 3 years, whatever it is they're doing abroad, when they come here, there is a framework and a structure that can help them do the very things that they saw happening there.
Absolutely. First of all, I must accept that we went wrong somewhere. There's no question about it. That's the reason why all these parastatals went down the drain. Ideally, these are the companies that should be solving our problem of unemployment. But somehow we lost it somewhere. Although there's a saving grace, in terms of the education sector, because we've done extremely well. We have more than 56 universities as it is now, and we have many TVETs that are coming up. So in terms of education, we did extremely well. However, we went wrong in that we're educating these young people, and after they attain the skills that they have, we are unable to employ them. So I totally agree with you concerning the need for us to relook at some of these strategies that we had before, which have been adopted by other countries, as you well put it, and they have succeeded, So looking back, we went wrong somewhere. But I must appreciate the Kibaki administration, because he tried as much as he could to ensure that we go back to where we were supposed to have been, even about 10 or 15 years before. He did a lot, even in terms of the policy papers that he came up with, and some of the policy papers that we're making use of. So the solution is, first of all, infrastructural development, because you have to have infrastructure in place. There is no way these companies will invest not knowing that they can access the market very easily. Infrastructure is being developed, and as you well know, there's been a lot of effort towards that direction by even the previous administrations, even the Uhuru administration, even the current administration as it is. Ministry of Trade is doing the best that they can to, create a conducive environment to ensure that these companies are able to thrive as it is now. And you need to have a conversation with the PS Trade. You need to invite him and the PS Investment to come and appraise you, concerning the structures that they have put in place as it is currently, to encourage as many investments as possible, not only foreign investments, but also local investments within. So I must say there's a lot that is happening. But, you have to appreciate the fact that macro policies take a long period of time for them to have effect. That goes without saying.
I think this is one of the pain points, or this is one of the questions that arises. With the knowledge that macro policies take time to implement and for the results to be realized, then the hope is that we don't see a break in transmission over and over again, with that realization in place that these policies take time. So are we now saying that with every new administration, that those macro policies now are being put in place to see the realization after 10 years?
No.
It makes it look like a cyclical start and stop,
start
and stop. And so what happens when you start and stop for something that needs 20, 25 years?
Yeah.
If you can imagine that a macro policy had been put in place, implemented over time, was cross-cutting when it came to administrations, we would not be in the same place in which we are today.
Absolutely.
So then how do you guarantee that any macro policy that is set up by government today will actually see through the next 20 years? Because these are mid to long-term things. How do you ensure that they're seen through and actually bear the result that they ought to? How do you convince
Vision
Kenyans?
2030 is still being implemented.
We've got 5 years.
Yes, we've got 5 years to go. But and we can see the effect, in accordance with the statistics also that we've been getting from the World Bank, that we are now at the lower middle income level. That shows that there is progress. But let me give you a guarantee, going forward, that things are going to work well. We have the Constitution of Kenya 2010. That was an excellent document, that Kenyans came up with. That guarantees implementation, of programs for a long period of time, because we are giving independence also to technical experts. Administrations will come and go. They will come with their policies and go. But remember, we have technical experts, government technical experts, who still remain in charge of the economy. Yeah, unlike before, what normally happens with the political governments, one is in a high position today and thrown out tomorrow. It's not possible with reference to the Constitution, because it gives guarantees.
Why is it not possible? Let's give you an example, PS. And I like to give the example. I'm not going to do the Singapore thing that everybody talks about. I'm going to talk about China. China was, or is currently still in a block of 12 sections of 5-year plans. You wouldn't believe it, but according to their government, they're still in the development stage of their economy, whereby they've built entire cities where individuals today don't live, with a billion strong population, right? They have built cities where people don't live. They've tarmac roads. They've built the education sector, so much so now that they're exporting around the world. What did they do? They went insular. They buckled down and they said, over the next 60 years, this is what we're going to do. The 60 years has not lapsed. But has it been the same president, for example, that has been in China? Has it been the same administration over 60 years? No. Administrations have changed. But the policy and its implementation is being stuck to.
Absolutely.
So my question is, why does it seem so difficult for us? And it's not just Kenya, by the way. Yesterday we were talking about there's something wrong with us. Why is it that we cannot stick to this implementation and move from administration to administration? Why?
An important question that you're raising, which is a discussion we should have as Kenyans, so that we find a way forward. But you've used an appropriate example, China. Even with reference to why I'm here as it is this morning. China closed its economy. We know that about 40 years ago.
Yes.
And sent their young people abroad. They went to Ivy League universities. The Yale, Harvard, Canada.
But what did they do, PS? They came back and actually built.
And they came back with know-how. It is the know-how they came back home with, which
so they didn't
has
send the money
assisted them
back.
expand the economy.
But they had a framework which welcomed them back.
Yes,
they could plug in.
Absolutely.
For them to plug
Totally
in.
agree.
Do we have such a framework?
I said just a few minutes ago, we are working very closely with the Kenya Investment Authority to guarantee a high return on the investments that Kenya will come back home with. So we are looking, we're looking at things not only from a short-term perspective, but also from a long-term perspective. How do we guarantee Kenyans that when they come back with their money, it will not be wasted as it has been happening before?
But you see, PS, what you've just said, when they come back with their money, if you give the example of China, they came back with their expertise to plug into a framework which the government had insisted was in place for them to build the economy.
So when they came in, they added value to what already existed, and we see the results now.
Yes, very true. But it was not only the know-how, they also came back with the savings. I've just quoted figures here in terms of the projection that we see even going forward. What was there before? 3 years ago, the amount of money that was being remitted by Kenyans was about $3 billion US dollars. It is currently $4.95 billion. You're telling me we should ignore the fact that Kenyans are bringing back their savings?
Yes. It is significant.
Absolutely.
The efforts that are being made, we are not saying they are not valuable. They are significant and they are valuable.
Very true.
What we are saying is this. We are a country that already had a blueprint from doing the very same thing that we keep talking about that others are doing.
True.
By the time you're exporting labor, it means you have that labor.
Yes.
I'm repeating the same question I've asked. The framework, the policy, may be an act that should be enacted to ensure that within our own borders, we have the wherewithal to ensure that we do these things, so that when people come abroad, they plug in. Look,
yes,
at independence, we had just about the most nationalistic and patriotic civil service one could ever talk of. But many of these people had been trained abroad. Some were locally trained, some went to, the bulk went to Makerere, which followed an education system of the UK. But they were trained.
Yeah.
And they had a certain ethos. In the absence of that, the foundations that we talk about would never actually have been enacted. Now, we've carried on that tradition and people have gone out to study and many have come back. We know this and we see it.
Thank you.
In the research sector, the partnerships that our institutions have, I'll give an example of Kemri. People go abroad, they come back. We see it. And you know why? We see it because what that institution is able to do, even when you had a pandemic like COVID, we had trained personnel who were able to contribute to the effort that was being made to fight the disease. You see, expertise acquired, brought back. But the framework within which they can exist is there. Now, it's that example that we're talking about with regards to looking at how we can look at other sectors of the economy, whether it is commercial, whether it is industrial, whether it is the service industry, whether it's agricultural, so that when people come back, we say, this is where your help will be nestled, and this is how you can use that expertise moving forward.
Let me tell you what we are doing currently to ensure the same. We may not have a legal framework in place as it is now, but even looking at things from a long-term perspective, what we have in mind, we have established what we are calling sector skills committees. Sector skills committees are comprised of experts in the different sectors that we have in our economy. Let me give an example. And I know I'll not get into trouble with this because this is a person who is known by Kenyans, Dr. James Mwangi. You know, we have made him the chair of the Sector Skills Committee on matters finances, the financial sector. We have a sector on agriculture. We have a sector on industries. Committees that we have put in place, you know, that we have started launching them one by one. You see, the object is that eventually these are the same brains that we have within the country that will assist us come up with a legal framework that you're talking about, which will guarantee then Kenyans, as they make their way back, the investments are utilized well. But not only that, also in terms of our own local economy, to be able to advise government, you know, as to what we are supposed to do for each sector to ensure its expansion.
Yet, PS, while we talk about these policies in place and whatnot, there is the aspect of the government bureaucracies that do exist, ease of doing business in the country. That is still a problem today. Even as you talk about inviting investors to come into the country, these are still the same problems that we are dealing with. So in terms of policy formulation and having this discussion, perhaps the government could look into making all these easier, giving tax holidays to these Kenyans, to these investors, so that the economy grows from within.
True, I totally agree with you, and that's the reason why I said earlier on, we're having discussions with Kenya Investment Authority. For me, it's with reference to Kenyans who are out there in the diaspora to guarantee them a high return on the investment so that they do not have to invest in the countries, you know, of destination where they have actually settled as it is now. They find it more attractive to come and invest in their home country.
Mm.
We must ensure that we create a conducive environment for them, so that as they're coming back with the little money that they have saved out there, they are guaranteed that their future is, in safe hands.
Mm. I mean, it would be nice to see some of these things. So I guess that this framework that you speak of, where is it? Its lifeline. Already thinking? Are there others who are having a conversation about this? Already established?
Established, yes.
Okay.
It is actually established. This has been done, by the way, for the last 6-7 months, that have been PS labor. I'm not blowing my trumpet, but what I'm trying to say is, yes, we are thinking in terms of the future. This conversation that we're having, you invite me after another 6 months to hold me accountable and ask me, fine, you told us the other time that there are skills committees that have been established.
Yeah.
Give us a report on what they have done. This is the way to go.
Rest assured we
Be
will
sure that
invite
we
you.
will.
Thank you.
Indeed.
Yes, because I want to be accountable to Kenyans.
Absolutely.
To tell them, look, this is not just hearsay. We did come up with plans. We are implementing them. We are midway as it is now. We've encountered some challenges. These are the challenges, but we hope to overcome them and eventually reach our destination.
Indeed, and that's what we would definitely do. But we want to thank you for being here with us this morning. Having discourse like this, keeping it front and center is what we do, and necessary for Kenyans to be, made abreast of some of these issues that are taking place. The Principal Secretary in the State Department for Labour and Skills Development is Shadrach Mwadime. He's been our guest this hour. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Asante sana. And thank you for making Kenya's biggest conversation your morning every day as you do. We continue with conversations where we make sure that things that are important here, around the region and abroad, are definitely brought in front and center. Thank you so much. We'll talk again tomorrow, God willing, at 6 a.m. Good morning. It's 10 o'clock.